It's New England's turn for NASCAR as the sport rolls into an area rich with racing history. Unfortunately, weather rolled into the area early this morning. Today, New Hampshire offers up a new opportunity for drivers trying to fight their way into the playoffs. And with lobster on the menu, the winner gets more than dinner. He gets a ticket into NASCAR's postseason.
Kyle Busch will win at New Hampshire. Kenseth will have the pleasure of hoisting the lobster.
Yes, sir, DH is what I'm talking about. Nice work, guys.
Welcome to NASCAR Countdown to Green, presented by Sonic, as we get ready to go racing.
Racing in New England has always had a loyal following. Fans here this weekend have been treated already to a handful of races, concerts, probably adult beverage-fueled social gatherings. We talked about that weather, so yeah, we are no longer on the Peacock pit box on pit road. You see the cars undercover in the garage area. We have moved upstairs with Hall of Famer Dale Jarrett, and Kyle Petty is holding down the fort at our NBC studios in Stamford. We hope we'll be joining him for Victory Lap later tonight, he, Nate Ryan, and Carolyn Mano. But right now, NASCAR has moved up the start of this race. Green flag scheduled for 1 p.m. If this weather can move out, they get the track dry. DJ, for a driver, the shuffling of the schedule, does that create an extra sense of urgency?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, as drivers, you're on a schedule all the time, and you understand. You not only know that there's 7 races before the playoffs are going to start, but you also know that you had in mind what was going to happen. So it was a 2 o'clock start, then it was a 1 o'clock, which that's no big deal. You're ready for that. But now with rain, there's just no way of knowing exactly what's going to happen. And with these drivers, especially those ones kind of on the bubble, it just gives you a sense of that things aren't going your way. You know, you like for things to happen on a routine, and when it throws you out of your routine, especially at a difficult racetrack that you know most anything can happen, makes things more difficult, makes drivers a little more antsy.
And knowing that if and when they go racing, you might only be racing to halfway, end of stage 2,
you don't know.
Which is 150 laps.
Yeah, it just puts so many questions there. And again, with a difficult racetrack like this, you know, how much do I charge? How hard do I go at certain points? So drivers have a lot of decisions to make in their minds.
All right, they're racing for a trophy. They're also racing for a lobster. 19-pounder is what they have going for today. And ironically, lobster not on the menu at Sonic. Here's what is. Let's take a look at our Sonic menu. Just 7 races to go before the playoffs begin. 7 drivers have qualified with a win, leaving 9 spots to be decided over the next few weeks. Toyota tries to continue its dominance at New Hampshire. The manufacturer has won 5 of the last 6 Cup races here on the flat 1-mile track. But it will be Ford driver Kurt Busch leading the field to green. KB41 is looking for his first win since the 2017 Daytona 500. As we look at the playoff leaderboard, the fiercest battle is for the last spot in those playoffs. Alex Bowman holds it, but just by 9 points over Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Paul Menard isn't far behind either, just 23 points off the cut line. He starts 12th today, and he's with Marty Snyder.
And Krista, let's chat with Paul right now. So we just saw 23 points below the cut line for you. How much do you pay attention to that? Are you a guy who looks at the points every week and kind of think about, hey, we can gain here, gain there?
You know where you're at for sure. I mean, we knocked a big chunk out last week with the 88's troubles, but I don't dwell on it. I mean, I know where we're at, but we just got to go about our job, do our business. We know where the 17's at, we know where the 88's at, but we don't really race any differently around that. We just can't make mistakes. You know, can't have failures. I got to do my job. Guys on my team do a hell of a job, so we just got to keep chipping away, and we'll get there.
You've been in this position before, so do you look at the calendar much and go, circle certain races, this is a place where we can gain, or that's a place where we might need to worry about?
Well, Daytona's behind us, so that was a big circle, obviously. A lot of things can go wrong at Daytona, but I feel like the schedule leading into the playoffs is it's good for us. I mean, we'll do our business. We've learned a lot this year. We've grown as a team. I feel like we're in a good spot right now, like I said earlier, and we just got to do our job. And if we do our job right, we'll be okay.
taking a bigger view of the 21 team right now, what's it been like to drive for the Wood Brothers this year? You're just talking about the Banks team you're going to have at Darlington. So much history with this race team, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, the whole family's great. All the Woods are, everyone that I've met. Eddie and Len are here every week working. They Len does the fuel mileage. Just talking to Eddie about about doing a helmet for Darlington with Kelly Arbro. So some really cool stuff. But honored to drive that 21 car for sure. Great people and awesome racers.
Always cool to talk about the heritage of the Wood Brothers. So also joining us here in the garage area and on pit road this weekend, Rick Allen, who I believe is hanging out with another driver trying to find his way into the playoffs. Rick?
Absolutely. I've got Alex Bowman standing by. And first off, I want to let the Tucson, Arizona native know that this is called rain. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is rain that's coming down. Obviously, that's affecting everything that's taking place this weekend, but I would guess on your mind also is the fact that right now you're 16th in the playoff standings, right there on that line. How do you balance thinking about points, but at the same time knowing that a win could lock you into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, we come here to win races every week, and unfortunately, obviously, we haven't been able to do that this year, but, I think we are capable of doing that. We need to get kind of turned around and make some progress and get to that point, but we're here with high expectations every week and just kind of control what you can control and not worry about the things you can't. So can't put yourself in bad positions, but at the same time got to be aggressive and run the best we can every week. So it's definitely on the back of your mind, but you don't want to spend too much time thinking about it and get yourself all worked up over it.
So you've had a lot of success at Phoenix. That's a 1 mile relatively flat racetrack. We come to the Magic Mile, relatively flat racetrack. Why don't those two maybe, I guess, coincide as far as the successes you've had?
Yeah, it's probably my best racetrack and my worst racetrack, and they're similar. It makes no sense, but I've always struggled here a little bit. I feel like this week is the best I've ever been able to be as a driver, so really pretty pumped about that. Just kind of how we came off the truck and had some speed, which was nice, something I've struggled to do here. Qualified really well, which I've really struggled to do, so I think it just shows how good our Nationwide 88 Chevy is. Greg's done a really good job bringing a good package and made some good changes throughout practice. We're a little off of where we want to be, but the car's still driving pretty well. So if I can kind of just fall into a rhythm, not make any mistakes, not speed on pit road, anything like that, track position is huge here. So whenever we do race, we just got to maintain our track position, and I think we can have a really good day.
88 team's going to keep digging. Alex Bowman knows that he's right on the cut line for the playoffs. Parker.
Right, Rick, and the guy that's trying to catch him gained 10 points on him last week at Kentucky, but it was a bit of a missed opportunity. You and I were just talking about what went wrong last week.
Yeah, just, racing hard and, talked to Jamie this week, and he thought I ran into him, and I think going back, he saw that he ran into us. But anyway, we just got a little fender rub there, and it cut our tire down. We run our cars so tight, the tires are so tight to the body, and it only takes just a little bit to cut a tire down. So a little missed opportunity, which was a bummer. I felt like last weekend our car was really good. I was really happy with our fifth, third, Ford last week. Probably the best we've been on a mile and a half. So that was a bummer that I felt like we didn't get to show the speed that we had, but all in all, I was happy with it. So try and hang our hats on that, going forward.
And I was talking to your crew chief, Brian Patty, last week, and he told me something really interesting, that you guys sit down almost every week and you kind of pick where you need to run, where you should run, where you need to finish to beat that car, the 88, to make it in the playoffs. So what's the goal this week?
Well, Brian's a crew chief that really believes in, setting our goals, hey, this is where we need to run the next few weeks to, put ourselves in the right position. He doesn't look necessarily at the 88. He doesn't look at the 21. He's like, let's race our own race. If we finish, 12th place this week, that's what we need to do. Whether we get some stage points and finish 15th and that averages out to be a 12th place finish, he kind of looks at that. And he's a smart crew chief. He's always looking at numbers. And so we go out and do the best we can. I feel like our Fast and All Ford this week, we struggled on Friday getting the balance. But Saturday, I felt really good with how we ended. We don't have the all-out speed, but I feel like it hangs on pretty well.
And so this past week, though, you blew off a little steam. Where were you? You were out in the Bahamas or something? It looked pretty cool on your Instagram.
Yeah, I went to the Bahamas for the week. My girlfriend, Brittany, her 30th birthday was Saturday of Kentucky. So I met her and a lot of her friends down in the Bahamas. We had a ton of fun going out on the boat, and we had great weather. I was hoping we could bring it up here, which we had nice weather here Friday and Saturday. Bummer that we got this today, but it's buying me some time to watch the Open Championship as well.
Well, that's a way to get away from this playoff pressure, Kelly. Just spend a little time in the Bahamas.
Hey, when I go on vacation, I usually go to Mexico. Daniel Suarez doesn't have to go there for vacation. That's where he's from, of course. Your mom's in town, though, so she's kind of on vacation. I wish we could have provided a little bit better weather for her.
Yeah, she's been here actually for a couple of weeks now. My two sisters were here the first week, and my mom is staying this week and the next week too. And you know, the best part really of her company is having her here, but the second best part is the food, because I don't have to worry about food. And she's amazing, unbelievable. Actually, she cooked tamales, homemade tamales, last week for my team at the shop, and everyone was crazy. So it's always fun to have my mom here.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know where I'm getting my lunch from then. We're talking about playoffs. You kind of called your shot a few weeks ago, said we're going to get in one way or another. This particular track's been really strong for you. So how confident are you that if not for get the win to get you in, you can at least help close that points gap?
Yeah, you know, we have to. The season has been difficult for us. We haven't done a really good job with consistency. We have had a lot of bad luck as well. It's been just difficult in many different ways. But you know, this is the position that we are, and we have to work through this. And we know that we have speed here. Pretty much every time that we come here. Last year we did well, and already the expectations for this year are not anything less than that. So. Hopefully we can get the race in here, the weather, with a little help from the weather, and hopefully we can put the 19 Arizona Camry in the front.
You were strong here, not just in the Cup Series, 2 top 10s in your 2 appearances, plus the Xfinity Series, some top 5s. So many people talk about how difficult this place is, yet you've been able to drive from the back to the front. Did it always just click for you coming to this track?
For whatever reason, actually I was talking about this yesterday, I've been racing here since my K&N days. Trucks, a little bit of trucks, Xfinity and our Cup, and for whatever reason, it's been a good place for me. You know, in Mexico, most of the racetracks are flat, so you know I race in a lot of flat racetracks more than actually big banking racetracks, and this place has been good. Last time that we raced here, I had to come from the back twice, and we ended up finishing in the top 10. So I was telling my team that if we don't make mistakes and we can stay in the front, maybe we can have a shot.
All right, we've been having fun with the New England accents, which I imagine is an added difficulty for you. But can you give us our best shot? Maybe talk about parking the car in Boston Yard?
You know, my accent, I don't feel like I have to fake it to show people I do have an accent. But what would you say? I know car. Without the R, right?
Exactly.
And what was the other one?
Parking the car in Boston Yard. I'm terrible, by the way.
Parking the car. And the boss said, yeah. Actually, yesterday I was making fun with my team. I was saying, hey, guys, my car is low. My car is low. My car is not turning. So we're making a little fun with that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Krista, by the way, Daniel calling for this could be one of the ovals potentially run with some rain tires. Parker echoed that sentiment, by the way. But, hey, how'd you like to see that here at New Hampshire, rain tires?
Well, it's that or listen to the Denver native who lives in Las Vegas, Kelly, and the Mexican-born Daniel Suarez do their Boston accents. That's a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk about the drivers. We just heard from DJ, those on the bubble. Who on this list really still has a legitimate shot?
Okay, before we get to that,
You're gonna do a Boston accent.
No,
okay.
I can't do that, not being from North Carolina. The idea of using rain tires at one of the most difficult racetracks I ever raced on to begin with, I can't even imagine how hard that would be.
When they,
yes, yeah, I can't fathom that. Okay, so we saw the list there. You know, when you look, and everybody's talked about it. We talked to the majority of those drivers that are in that situation there, the bubble. When you're Alex Bowman in the 88, they're not, these drivers from 17th to 20th, they're not saying, okay, we've got a chance to go get Chase Elliott or Jimmy Johnson. It's the 88. So he is the man with the bullseye on him right now. That's who everybody's pointing at. How are we going to get to him? That's the cutoff right now. And the fact is that all of the drivers have talked about we haven't been as consistent as we need to be. We've got to gather points the best way that we can. Obviously, you know, this point system now and the playoffs offer you different times during the race, not just at the end of the race to gather points. So you have to make the most of that all the time. But the fact is, it's going to be difficult to come from 79 and 83 points back unless those drivers had some very difficult problems there. But the best way that you can apply pressure is having good stages, gathering as many points as you can, and then finishing off with a good day. I think Paul Menard and the Wood Brothers team, they're in a really good position right now. Paul Menard's a good road racer, so Watkins Glen coming up. But you have Pocono and Watkins Glen where a lot of cars finish on the lead lap. So if someone should have problems there and you can make your way to the top 10, then you can gain a lot of points there. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you've had bad luck, you haven't been consistent. It's a basis and it's a business of what have you done and how can you gather the most points that you possibly can or get that victory. And none of these teams have actually shown that speed to get that because 3 drivers and 4 with Clint Boyer have taken up victory lane most of the time. So what are you going to do? How are you going to up your performance and for these last 7 races be more consistent and get that performance that you need on a weekly basis?
I think stage points is something we may discuss coming up a little bit later because we might have a little bit of time. Again, scheduled to go racing this afternoon. Weather is in the area, but that also means you're going to hear over the next couple of hours a ton of interviews from all those drivers who are down in the garage like we just heard from. So we have that coming up. Plus, we also have a lot more. Coming up on Countdown to Green, from one champ to another, DJ talks driver to driver with Jimmy Johnson. How is the season slump affecting 7-time? It's a conversation you just can't miss. And when you're here in New England, you need to bang a left, grab a donkey, and get ready for today's RIPA. Huh? Drivers take a shot like you just heard Daniel Suarez do at New England Accents coming up. And it's NBC Race Team Takeover Day, sort of like Bring Your Kid to Work Day, but with expensive audio equipment. Drivers Jeff Burton and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and crew chief Steve Letarte will be in the booth. The play-by-play guy, you just saw him, Rick Allen, he's in the pits. Countdown to Green is brought to you by Sonic's new $3.99 crispy tender dinner, so flavorful and crispy. And by Progressive. Stay on track with great rates at progressive.com. As millions of Americans hit the open road this summer, join the anchors of today as they celebrate the great outdoors. For tips on everything from gear to games to grilling and a special trip to one of America's most popular vacation destinations. Tune in tomorrow only on Today.
Final lap, white flag is out for Dale Jarrett. A late restart. Jarrett gets by his teammate and scores what will be his 4th win of the season. Dale Jarrett takes the New England 300, his first win here at New Hampshire International Speedway.
And that was here on this day 17 years ago, DJ. What do you remember about it?
Tough battle with Ricky Rudd. At that time, my teammate, and Jeff Gordon was right there. So tough day. As I've always said, this is one of the toughest racetracks I ever encountered. For those drivers out there watching and wondering, can they win here at Loudon? Yes, you can. That's proof right there that anybody can, because this was not one of my better racetracks, but we were able to put it together that day.
Yeah, 17 years ago today. Well, Jimmy Johnson has won here 3 times, but he is right now in the middle of what arguably could be called his worst season ever. Subpar results after the bar is set so high. Just one of the topics he and DJ discuss driver to driver.
Jimmy Johnson gains the 2nd victory of his rookie year.
A lot has changed since you started your career in the Cup Series. So many things that could take your focus away. But is it still about competition and driving a race car?
It is, and I can honestly say I spend more time now than I did my rookie year focusing on my job. And I think that the support I have from my wife, and my kids are 7 and 4, to have them watch me be passionate about something has another meaning that I didn't anticipate and see coming. So I'm loving what I'm doing. I wish the results were a little better than what we have right now, but the process of what I'm going through is really a lot of fun.
You won races and championships at a rate really only a very few people are familiar with.
Make room, Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ.
Yes! Yes! My darling, yes! I don't even know what to say.
Did you ever think that winning came a little too easy at times?
No, I really don't feel that I ever took it for granted, and it's largely because of my upbringing. I had some success on dirt bikes when I was a kid, but when I moved into cars, I was very familiar with getting beat. I was very familiar with making mistakes. That process humbled me. Even as all those amazing years were happening in the 5 in a row, I couldn't believe it was happening, and I could still always remember where I came from.
Jimmy Johnson is sideways, and everybody tries to get on the binder.
Hang on, baby. Hang on.
It's been a long time since we have seen Jimmy Johnson in victory lane. This is the longest he has gone without a win in his career.
So hang the helmet up. You're a young man still. It's hard to know exactly when that time is.
It is, and I've asked you questions before. The thing I can pull out of it is, don't pick a number. Make sure that fire's gone out. And that fire hasn't gone out. And then the other thing that's weighing on me, I don't want to go out not at my fullest potential and not on my terms. The last thought that's going to run through my mind is to walk away or, oh, it's not going right, time to stop. I know I still got it. I'm going to go down swinging. I've got a lot to prove still. I know Rick has an open door policy for me to drive as long as I want, and I'll just have to sit down with my girls and decide. We have some plans and goals as a family that we want to achieve. I also have some other competitive goals that I want to accomplish, from the 24 Hours of Le Mans back to check out some off-road trucks. I haven't done that in a long time. You know, there's some different cycling and triathlon-related events that I want to do too before, before I get too old.
And an 8th championship, right?
At least 8.
So we just heard him say at least 8 when you
least.
asked him the question. Is that what jumped out to you, or what about your conversation?
Yeah, I think everything. I think that he has things in perspective, and Jimmy has been a great champion for this sport. You know, what I see is he still has that desire. So many people think that, okay, he's won 7 championships, all of these races, he's got more money than he needs. That's the outlook that a lot of people have. That fire as a competitor doesn't go away because you have those things. You know, it drives him to continue to want to be the only person there at 8 or more than that, to set the bar even higher. And I think that Jimmy Johnson is probably one of the most underappreciated 7-time champions at anything that I've ever seen. But it's interesting how fans are, and it's not just in this sport, but in most, that we don't appreciate enough when someone's performing at such a high level. But whenever they start to have things go against them a little bit and he's not winning on a regular basis, you hear a lot more cheers from the stands when Jimmy Johnson's introduced now. But I think that they feel like that he's more human because he's not winning every other week as it seemed like he was doing. But Jimmy Johnson is still a young man. He has a lot to look forward to and go towards. And I've said this a number of times that, you know, I was given good advice myself, and everybody that's come to me about that, you know, don't stop until you know that you don't have that desire, because you can't come back and make it better. But I've seen every driver, and look back to when this sport started, and it happens in other sports too, but we'll talk about NASCAR racing, that every driver's been through things to where people say, you know, he doesn't have that desire anymore. From Dale Earnhardt to Richard Petty to Kel Yarborough, Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Gordon, just because they're not winning at this particular time doesn't mean that they don't have that desire to do it and want to succeed anymore. Jimmy Johnson will get back to winning races, and he's going to get back to continuing for championships. Is that going to happen this year? I'm not sure. They've got a difficult race car that they're trying to work with right now. Conversation I had with Jimmy at Kentucky last weekend, he knows that they have an uphill battle, that they're not to the point that he wants to be that yet. But we're going to see him perform at a high level for a number of years to come, I believe.
Well, and let's not put all of the weight on Jimmy Johnson's shoulders, because Chevrolet overall, they've only won, what, 2 stages the entire season. Austin Dillon has that season-opening win in the Daytona 500. But even in terms of gathering points, it's really just been a down year for them overall.
It has, and with such high expectations for the new Camaro. And we've all been through it. Every driver that's been through has had that car that has come along, and you see it in the wind tunnels, and you see the numbers, and you get it on the racetrack, and you think, oh my gosh, we're going to set a record for number of wins this year, and all the drivers were excited. Well, it hasn't performed with that whenever you get to the racetrack and you get out against the competition. So there's work to still be done. And again, it's the whole camp. It's not just, we're not just putting this on Jimmy, but Jimmy is the standard by which we put every other driver up against, because he is the man that has the chance to be that 8-time champion.
And we do know that his crew chief will be back. Chad Canals has signed a 2-year deal to stay with the team. And when was the last time you heard this, by the way? Johnson is an 80-1 underdog to win here today, that's according to Westgate Las Vegas Superbook.
That's crazy. That sounds like that's a slam dunk that you've got to take that bet. But I'll have to say, I'm not sure that it would be something right now in looking at what has happened to this year. One thing that Jimmy did tell me that he feels like that with the car and the things that they're fighting, that banking is something, when you get to racetracks to where you have more banking, that their cars perform a little bit better. There's not much banking to be had here. So we'll have to see when this race is going exactly what the Chevrolets are going to do this weekend.
And we'll have to get Kyle Petty on the phone to see what he's going to do with his Jarrett and Associates investment.
Yes, yes.
Advice.
But I will say, as good as that sounds, I don't think that I would take that bet this weekend.
Wow. Well, we have a lot more to discuss. In fact, we heard those New England accents. We're going to keep going back to this because if you've seen films like, let's say, Good Will Hunting or The Departed, you may have noticed the New England accent is truly unique. In fact, you might call it wicked. To help prepare for the weekend in Loudon, some of NASCAR's best tried their hand at sounding like a local.
All right, we're going to New Hampshire, so we're going to have you do some New England accents.
Oh, God bless it.
It'll be fun. Let's have fun.
Yeah. This is awful. I can't, hey, can I get Suarez in here for this? Okay.
Or I can try.
Hey, Martin, how's your car? I know he thinks he's wicked smart, but I'm wicked smarter. I know he thinks he's wicked smart, but I'm wicked smarter.
I know he's wicked smart, but I'm wicked smarter.
I'm wicked smarter.
Wicked's a great word we don't use enough, by the way. I still use it. I might be one of the only ones.
I love it. All right, so this is my best New Hampshire, up in New England accent. I'm going to go park the car in the Harvard yard.
I'm going to park the car in the Harvard yard.
I'm going to park the car in Harvard yard.
I'm going to park the car in the Harvard yard. That's pretty good.
I'm going down to park the car in Harvard yard. Why does my Boston accent sound Australian, by the way?
I'm gonna pack the car in the Harvard pack. How's that? Is that good?
That's good.
Yeah, it sounded like Leo on, what was that movie? Departed. Maybe Leo should play me in my movie.
We need Ryan Priest for this, or Tommy Baldwin.
How do you like them apples? I got a number.
That driver's garbage.
That driver's garbage.
I want more Jimmys on my ice cream.
I want more Jimmys on my ice cream. Do you like my accent?
I do like your accent.
That's not a Mexican accent.
Are you from Boston?
All right, well, DJ, who was the best?
I have to give it to Suarez there just for the attempt with his accent to start with. But that, you know, you look at that and you know, it is different, especially for somebody from the South who I can't do it. But I know Rutledge can, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see, Rutledge.
Dale, you know that's not a fair enough. I need time to warm up. You know, like I got a number. How about them apples? You know, I'm more of like a Bronx Tale kind of a guy than, say, Good Will Hunting. But you know what it reminds me of? When I hear that voice, I think of some of the heroes that we see here at the track every weekend. We know there's 40 that line up to race, but there's a lot of heroes on this side of the wall. And when we get back, I'm going to tell you about one of those people that makes this place so special.
Larson to the bottom of the track.
Slide job.
Trying to take the lead away.
Slide job.
Almost. There's no question that this young man can drive a race car.
It's worth noting this was the last true mile and a half before the playoffs. This was the time to show what you had.
It's a win for mullets all across the country. We've had 7 winners, and there's 9 playoff spots available.
Which one of the big 3 is the best car right now? Because it seems like each week one of them kind of shows up and outruns the others.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my man. What a race. What a great race.
Again today is Garage Takeover in the booth. You see the guys really getting ready right now.
It looks like, I think they're well prepared. They're just relaxing. This is what they do before they get ready to go call it a great race.
Yep. And by the way, jeans and vintage racing T-shirts won the wardrobe poll. So that's what we'll see the guys in when they call the race. But no question they're going to have fun. 2 drivers and a crew chief. No broadcast professional with them. Sounds like a fantastic decision.
I think it's certainly a recipe that Rick Allen will have job security.
We can't wait to see what happens. All right, today Joey Logano looks for a 3rd career win at his home track. Logano hails from Middletown, Connecticut, roughly 3 hours from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. He spent time this week giving back to the area with his foundation's charity go-karting event. He'll roll off 19th. And Marty, are you with him?
I am, Krista. We're hanging out. We're talking about being from the Northeast, and you don't have very much of a Boston accent for a guy from Connecticut.
Well, it's because I'm from Connecticut.
That's a great point by you. But I do like how you say the word wicked is not used nearly enough.
I agree. Wicked is You know, I use that with my race car sometimes. You can be like wicked loose, wicked tight. That's past like really. You know, there's really tight, and then there's wicked tight. And you hope not to be in the wicked area.
All right, let's chat about some of the cool things you did. The foundation stuff this week, very cool race. But Team Blaney won, and Blaney got the fastest lap, and you had to give him the award for the fastest lap.
The only thing worse than not winning a trophy is giving a trophy away. But it was a great event for the Joey Logano Foundation, and we did it at the Foxwood Resort and Casino, and it was a great time. We raised a bunch of money, raised over 200 grand for the foundation and for the Ronald McDonald House. So I was proud of that. It was a lot of fun, and no one got hurt at the go-kart race, which was very good. Some close calls, but we had a lot of fun, and we're hoping to race again today.
Tell me what the foundation, the core of it is, and this is really, you've kind of centered it around the New Hampshire races for your biggest fundraisers.
Yeah, well, obviously being from Connecticut, going to, you know, the Northeast, when we come up here to Loudon, just makes sense. And, we give second chances to kids in crisis. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, sometimes you may be born into not the greatest situation. You may not have the best parents, the best role models around you. And we focus with a lot of other organizations that help give these kids the tools and resources to become a contributing member of our society. So it's cool to see you know, what people do with the second chance sometimes. You know, I got a second chance with Team Penske in my career, and I know how I handled everything differently. And I know if everyone else has a second chance, they would do things different, and a lot of times you do better. So we're a big fan of giving second chances to kids and young adults to really make a difference in their lives.
All right, let's talk about the racing side of things a little bit. You guys are fairly comfortable with where you are in the championship standings. We don't come back to New Hampshire for a second time this year, so a little bit different. Is there still experimentation going on, though, to learn for other racetracks that might be in the playoffs?
Yeah, there is. You know, I think anytime you go to a racetrack, you're trying to learn something. You're trying to figure something out. We tried to learn something in qualifying. That didn't go so well. So, you know, lesson learned there. And you got to try things, though, because what worked here at Loudon last year is not going to work this year. You have to be able to keep moving forward and trying new things, not only as a driver, but with a car setup as well. And because the competition catches up so quickly, so you got to keep pushing and finding something new. And hopefully we made the right adjustments. I think we got our car better in practice yesterday to where I think we're close to a top 5 car. So hopefully everything goes right. We can get ourselves up there. We got a lot of cars to pass, and we don't know how long the race will be, right? So we may be racing to halfway. Who knows? So we got to push hard from the get-go and get as many spots as possible with our Shell Pennzoil Ford.
And we're amateur meteorologists. We think we're definitely racing today. By the way, you're the most popular guy.
Racing.
We will be racing. You're the most popular guy in the coach slot. Are these your cars? I mean, my goodness, where'd this come from?
Those are not my cars. It's a friend of ours, and they are pretty. These are Paganis, and I think we should race. You know what? That'd be great TV right now. They got treaded tires. We'll just go out on the track and race these things around. I bet the motorhome lot would be all right with that. We get a few drivers out there, and we'll beat them up. Let's go.
Put DJ in one, you in one. DJ'd come down and race them.
I bet he would.
He would. The one we're looking at right there worth $3 million. That's crazy.
We got to look, if Rutledge is around, we got to be careful because he may crash it. DJ can drive one, I'll drive one, but Rutledge, he can ride in the passenger seat. Maybe with DJ, though, because he'll be a little loud for me.
There you go. All right. So we've set up the race. DJ, you're in, whether you want to be or not, but Rutledge is your passenger.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
He was, yeah, you were nodding your head when they said.
As long as I get the car after I drive it. That's all that I'm after then. But yeah, I think it would be outstanding. What great-looking vehicles.
I know. And what he said the motorhome lot would be okay with it. I don't know if the owners of those cars.
Yeah, that's the part he didn't address there. Yeah.
238 miles an hour. Is that's what I'm hearing? That's
not around here, but unbelievable.
Wow. Okay, so Joey, Joey is still the record for the youngest winner ever in series history. When he won here, if I remember right, it rained that day too.
Yes.
But what does Joey need? What are they missing right now?
Well, they have their win, so they've got that part, which is really, really good. But the thing that they're missing is they're not in championship form at this point in time yet. And Joey knows that. They know that there's work to do. You could hear him talk there. Hey, we don't know what exactly we might find here. You know, there are no other racetracks like this, and talk about how difficult it is. But you never know when there's that shock that you change, that combination of a spring and a shock that you change that might spark something somewhere else on any type of track. I don't care if it's a 2.5 mile track like Indianapolis that's flat or exactly what it may be. But you keep working with that goal that we're going to make this better. And we have 7 weeks to make our race team and organization, our race cars better, to where once the playoffs start, we're ready to go in championship form.
Well, no question, young fans from this area, Joey is someone they can look up to. For big kids like us, we look up to a guy named Nick. I think Rutledge has Nick's story.
I sure do, Krista. You know, there's so many people that make the races possible every single weekend that we don't always get to tell the story of where they came from and how it came to be that they're a part of the racetrack. But I want to tell you about Nick Kolowski this weekend. He's one of the pit road firefighters that you see during the race. A lot of times you'll see during a pit stop, there's a guy or a gal in red that's kind of leaning over, holding a fire extinguisher. That's Nick right there. Now, Nick is a city councilor and a volunteer fireman from Claremont, New Hampshire. Now, he uses his entire stipend from this weekend, about $1,200 in total, to buy toys for the Children's Hospital at Dartmouth Hitchcock. Now, this is a hospital where when he was 8 years old, he had several surgeries because he was blind temporarily, several surgeries there in Lebanon, New Hampshire. And so he decided to try to make the kids that are staying there have a little more time to be special and to be a kid. So he uses his entire stipend every time he's here to go to toys for those children at the hospital. A really special thing, a guy that loves racing, loves helping out, but one of those heroes that you don't hear about every single weekend. And there are tons of people just like Nick here this weekend. So we want to give a shout out to him, a really special thing he's doing. And I think for the record that he'd be happy to ride in a Pagani Huayra anywhere in the world, just like I would, DJ. I'll be your partner. Shotgun.
So you were listening to Marty's interview with Joey then, Rutledge.
Yeah, I like that the one guy on our team that drives an electric car is interviewing someone about a hyper car that I got to sit in yesterday, but that's how it works sometimes. I get it.
Well, wait, don't forget Kyle. Kyle drives a Prius, right?
Yeah, his is a hybrid.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
The first time I saw Kyle Petty in his Toyota Prius, I was like, whose car is this? He's like, it's mine. Get in, buddy.
And Rut, I would think that at some point in time you would demand that I stop and we switch as far as the driver-passenger thing, right?
I think it's the fair thing. We talked about it yesterday. You're in the Hall of Fame. One day I might be in my high school's hallway of fame. I think you deserve the first crack at it, Dale.
Yeah, you just have to make it back there, Rutledge. That's the only thing holding you up.
No problem. I'm in.
All right, if fans want to take part in today's Toyota Social Spotlight, you can tweet your answers to @NASCAR and NBC and @Toyota Racing using the hashtag Social Spotlight. So, Rutledge, what is today's question?
Well, you guys know we have Loudon the Lobster, right? That's the big trophy that you win here, this amazingly huge lobster that they wheel out. So I want to know, what Toyota driver would you want to go and have Loudon the Lobster with? So make sure you hashtag it @NASCAR NBC, @Toyota Racing. Send it, and we'll put your tweets up on the screen a little bit later.
Okay, which Toyota driver do you want to share? Okay, we'll work on that. Fans, join in. Yeah, you saw the hashtags that you need to use, so we'll keep an eye on that. And, you know, the drivers have been out and about leading up to today's race. As we mentioned, Joey Logano and his Team Penske teammates went racing in a charity go-kart race at Foxwoods Resort Casino. Meanwhile, here at Loudon, fans got to meet Kyle Larson and Kurt Busch. Very cool. And on Friday, Martin Truex Jr. and William Byron were special guests for the track's annual Champions Breakfast. And up the road at Macra's Restaurant, where they've been keeping Loudon the Lobster, Brad Keselowski met some of his most loyal fans. There is Matt DiBurrito, is that right? DiBurrito, not DiBenedetto, making the perfect burrito. There you see Ryan Blaney out on the track walk last night. Just a lot of good stuff happening here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Now, last fall here at the track, Kyle Busch was the winner. Will today bring him his 6th win of the season? We'll hear from him and the rest of the big three when Countdown to Green continues.
Introducing Sonic's Crispy Tenders. They're flavorful and crispy. Yeah, that's right. They're Flispy. Try them with the new signature sauce. Hurry in. Deal ends soon. This is how you Sonic.
NASCAR Drive is your live race day companion. Watch throughout the broadcast and select alternate camera angles or ride along with in-car video of your favorite drivers. You can even watch multiple angles at once. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive or download the NASCAR mobile app today.
Let's start the show! Yes!
Is that yours?
Yeah.
You drive an old man car?
I figures.
I unplugged my earphones right there, and I'm listening to them, and then I'm like, you know what? You're not saying anything I want to hear right now, so I plug them back in.
What's going on, Ricky?
Can you name any you didn't call? Just off the top of your head.
Brad might be one. Everything you say into the microphone, they're still booing. So it's like, oh.
Too wide?
Hell no. Never going to happen. Not a chance. There's 2 bosses I have. One of them's a female and the other one's old. The old one said no.
Man, that really brings up a lot of questions.
I'm making notes. Radio, public consumption. Got it.
I took photography classes in high school. This guy right here.
Did you miss that whole thing?
Yes, I just missed that whole thing.
Absolutely. I'm a fan of myself.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
We're out.
You're the man.
Hey, it was fun.
It was fun. Wednesdale this past week with Kyle Busch was awesome. More stars to come over the next 2 weeks on Wednesdays with Dale Jr. Coming up next will be Chase Elliott. He joins the show this Wednesday, July 25th. Of course, the big 3 here at New Hampshire want to keep on rolling. We just heard from Kyle on NASCAR America. Let's hear from him now with Parker Klickerman.
Right, Krista, we're down here just outside his bus in a little lovely rain, but there's someone else joining us in this interview. He's just being a little camera shy. Who's that back there?
Braxton? Okay, he's out.
He's not going to join us right now. So, you know what we can get into that's kind of fun is yesterday, well, actually this week on Wednesday, you were part of Wednesdale, NASCAR America. That looked kind of fun. You were laughing, having a good time?
It was a blast. Anytime that Dale and we've done some things this year, it's been a lot of fun, and we just get a chance to kind of crack up and talk about the events of the sport and other things kind of happening and going on, and so it's a good time. And having Rutt and Jeff Burton there obviously was kind of a good thing for us to be able to break up a little bit, but overall, it's been fun this year. We've had a good time.
Let's get into the important stuff. Yesterday, you and I saw each other at the ice cream shop over here. First of all, what ice cream did you have?
What did I get? I got it was the Mint Madness, right?
Mint, that's a good one. That's one of my favorites as well. Yeah. We are also discussing your race car in this race we hopefully will have today, and you told me that, and I quote, we're terrible, but we're 3rd through 6th. Is that just a reference to how good you've been this season, that terrible is 3rd through 6th?
Yeah, it's reference to who's in front of us, obviously. You know, you got the 78 and the 4 and us that are maybe the top 3 guys. There's a couple others that are right there too, but you know, it seems like we're just a little bit off of the fast guys, you know, so we just need to make sure that we try to keep up with them, and it's kind of a race to try to see who can win the most before the playoff starts, to get those playoff bonus points going and to have the most of those before the postseason starts.
And what an incredible race it's been. I was speaking to your crew chief, Adam Stevens, about this, and he said, you know, when you're in the thick of the battle right here on the race weekend, he doesn't think about it, it's just you versus them. But then when he sees the numbers, how many races you 3 have won, he cannot believe it. Can you believe what you guys are accomplishing this season in this competition?
No, it's stiff and it's tough and it's hard and it's not easy, and to be as good as we've been in this year and being able to win races and to match those guys that are also winning races has been pretty great for us. But you know, the other aspect of it is just how far back that's gone, where the big 3 have been able to win races that many times in the last little bit. So you know, each time one of those guys wins, it's like, all right, we got to win ours, you know, like we got to get back to victory lane, and we got to keep on top of them just by that much. We got to keep that gap, if you will, and it's not easy to do.
This is incredible to watch, Kelly, and even they can't believe that what they're accomplishing right now.
Okay, so Kevin Harvick qualified 14th for this race, but don't be fooled by that. Kevin, everyone I've talked to in the garage has pointed to the 4 car as the one to beat. Do you share some of that same confidence?
I think our Busch Beer Ford has been really good in a race trim. Qualifying has just not been something that, for me through the years, has been a very strong point of the things that I do throughout the year. So probably had a lot more race car than driver hitting his marks. But it's been, we had 2 good practices yesterday. The car is turning well for a long period of time, and really that's what you need here, is to be able to pass, is to keep your car turning through the center of the corner and not have it get so tight that you have to just keep waiting. So have to see what happens. We practiced in obviously sunshine and a lot warmer conditions, so this is kind of the nature of the beast, I guess you could say. When you come up here, you never know what you're going to get weather-wise, and you have to keep up with the conditions and the racetrack.
When I talked to Rodney Childers this morning, he seemed really excited, and he said, I really want to win here. He has a couple of wins here. You have 2 wins here. And he just said, look, there's one guy who has 4, and we want to catch him with that. Do you share some of that sense of that here today?
Well, it's a hard place to win at, just because there's so many things that have to go right through the day, as far as when the cautions fall, how the strategy goes. You have to have a little bit of luck on your side. The restarts are so tough here, especially now, as you saw yesterday, that bottom groove goes through the corner good, doesn't take off as good, so it's kind of a crapshoot on which lane goes on the restart after you get off of turn 2. But we always want to win. And this is definitely a place that we've circled this year just because we didn't run very well here last year, or at least in one race we didn't run very well. So it's a racetrack that we want to run good at, and I enjoy coming here and look forward to seeing what happens in the race.
We've just crossed the halfway point of the season, and you've already won 5 times, which matches a career high for you. You've done that a couple other times. What are the limits for this team? What are you guys capable of with half a season ahead?
Well, I think there's a lot ahead. Obviously, I think this is probably our weakest point of the schedule when we go to this particular racetrack, Kentucky, Daytona, Watkins Glen. Once we get through Watkins Glen, I feel like we're back on. Not that we're not on offense all the time, but I just don't feel like this is for me personally. I know the cars are good. It's just not been somewhere that a piece of the schedule that I've excelled at over the last several years. So we've done well in managing that. We've run well at pretty much every racetrack that we've been through this stretch. So it's like you say, sky's the limit. You just have to put the pieces together. There's a lot of really good race teams that can put a day together, and I think we've done a good job of putting days together, and hopefully we can keep doing that.
All right. Kevin Harvick, 2 wins here. Never won, though, in this sort of spring-summer race. It's always been the fall race. We'll see what he can do today.
Well, Kelly, let's chat with the third of the big 3, Martin Truex Jr. And I just want to know just your general thought on the conversation and the topic of the big 3. Do you guys like it or not like it?
Well, I think you want to be part of it rather than not. I mean, for us, I think it's really cool, for me to be in this position. The last couple of years have been incredible. Obviously, they're really lucky to be on a great race team and surrounded by great people. So I think for all them and even for me, it's been fun to be a part of that. But, we don't let that change our focus any or, make us feel like we're better than anyone. We understand how difficult this sport is, that it can come and go at any point in time, and you never know who's going to step up. So we work hard to try to stay there.
You and I have talked a lot about points and stage points lately. So how big of a focus is that regular season championship? You've got 110 points to make up if you want to claim those 15 very valuable points as you learned last year.
Yeah, I mean, for sure we'd love to have it. I feel like we've had, some bad races that set us back pretty far, but that's a long way to go, 110 points or whatever. So it's going to be really tough to get there, but there's points for third as well. So, we'd obviously like to stay third if we could, but I think for us, the main focus will be on the bonus points to try to gain some advantage there. We're a little bit behind in them right now as well. So had a good weekend last weekend from that respect, and hopefully we can continue it.
We were just calculating home race for you, so that's home track number 6, 7, whatever. 4. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, 4 for you. So, but why is this racetrack and this race so important to you? A race where you've never won in the Cup Series.
Well, I've won in other series here, and the family history, and just I feel like this track is a big reason why I was able to get to where I'm at right now. And without that stage that we had, when I came up here and run the Busch North Series, watching my dad and then me running here, this was the place where you wanted to run good because there was eyeballs were on you. The big teams were here, the Cup guys, the Busch teams were here, all the owners. So this was the place that really put me on the map. And without it, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
All right, as he told me earlier this week, as a 12-year-old kid, this was the Super Bowl here at New Hampshire. That's why I want this Cup race so bad, Rick.
Well, Marty, I'm standing here with Kurt Busch, and we've actually been standing here for, 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah, 20 minutes or so, whenever you need, Rick. But
yeah, so I've been talking to Kurt about everything in his life. You raced in a rally across the United States with your buddies, some of your groomsmen. You're building a truck right now with Zach Brown Band. Maybe let's take it back to the racetrack, though. Can we do? Oh, and I also learned that you have a special Monster Energy drink that the logo is actually on the other side so that when you drink it, the logo is facing the camera. I'm learning an incredible amount of things out here, but let's talk a little bit more, though, about racing. And you won the pole. You've won this race 3 times. Your team has been dominant this year as far as overall at Stewart-Haas. Is there an added competition amongst you guys that you want to get to victory lane and join those guys that are locked into the playoffs?
Absolutely. I mean, we're having a great, solid season, and the way that we've qualified, again, we're on the pole. But we have to, on the 41 car, have that perfect day, and make sure we're finding the right strategy in the race with tire wear, the right adjustments to the car, and just working with Billy Scott. Now we're into the second half of the year. I can feel like we're grabbing a different phase on our process together, and it's a matter of just executing perfectly to get that win. You can't expect it to happen or say that you're due. You just have to execute as a team. And so with Ford, with Monster, with Haas, everybody, we're right there. And we have a big points cushion. We really have nothing to worry about with the playoffs. So let's just go have some fun and make sure we're executing as a team.
Okay, so you have had experience at this racetrack with rain. You said they rained out Friday and Saturday. You came out and you kicked their butts on Sunday to win the race. Same thing happening here potentially?
That was 04. It was the first race of the playoffs, and that's the year we won the championship. And it rained on Friday and Saturday, so nobody got track time to help improve their setups. But we've already had plenty of track time. Everybody's dialed in, and it's just a matter of when we go and when we race. And so it's just a matter of just hanging out. I mean, we got plenty of caffeine. But
do I get one of those?
This is a special can, Rick. I got one here for you. I have this for you, or I have...
What else have you got for me?
I have a rookie stripe because why are you on pit road?
we also talked about the fact that I am definitely a rookie down here in the garage and on pit road. So, and there it goes. The rookie stripe is now on. I got to show the rookie stripe.
We couldn't find an official yellow because none of the Stewart Haas guys are rookies. Maybe that'll happen in the future, but that's the best we could do for yellow. And you're now part of the team. I'm
a rookie on the Stewart Haas team. All right, I do want to, before I let you go, because you've been so patient with me, I want to talk about that rally race you did. You actually left Sonoma, a red eye, and were able to drive the car for where? How far did you drive?
So the rally was a bunch of car enthusiasts. I have my Ford GT. There's other guys with Ferraris, McLarens, Lamborghinis, and it was from Boston to Vegas. 10 days, 10 cities. It's called the Gold Rush Rally. And yeah, I flew in on a red eye, and I took it from Pittsburgh, Detroit, St. Louis, and Memphis. So I got the heartland during the week. But I had guys like Bill Goldberg, the wrestler, Ronnie, the limo driver, started, and then my buddies took it from there, got it to Vegas, and then we had a big party at the end. And to have a Ford GT out on the rally, she now has 5,000 miles on it, a couple rock chips in the windshield, but cars are meant to be driven, an experience of a lifetime with buddies and just going across America driving.
How fast can you go? Can you go over the speed limit when you're on one of those?
You're supposed to stay within the public speed limits that are posted. But what's fun is there was a couple track days involved, and so that's where everybody gets to stretch the legs out on their sports cars. And we got ours up to 150 on the track.
Oh, okay.
On the track. And then there might have been a few places where I wasn't driving, West Texas, that I don't know about, where the cars might have been going really fast.
There you have it. So he's been having a little bit of fun when he's away from the racetrack, and obviously when the rain stops here, he'll start up front. He's got the #1 pit stall. I think I'm going to be able to get one of these Monster Energy cans.
Can you afford a Haas CNC machine?
No, I don't think so.
We've sold a lot, but maybe we can work on a deal for anybody. But yeah, everybody should check on a Haas CNC machine. We've sold a lot over the last few years, and we need to keep selling them.
It's an infomercial down here, Krista.
Yeah, that interview had a little bit of everything. Thank you, Rick. And yeah, he talked about he was supposed to go the speed limit. He was the fastest car. He's on the pole. Kurt trying to join the conversation with the big three, over 133 miles an hour when we go racing. He will lead the field to green. But let's talk, DJ, about the big three. Where are they finding their motivation? They talked a little bit about racing each other, but where specifically is each one pointing towards?
Yeah, before I answer that, Krista, let's say that we don't like rain and having to wait to watch these guys perform at what they do so well, but it's great that they come out and give the interviews and we get such insight on so many different things. Yeah, Kurt took us a lot of different ways there, but it's just great to hear them. So I'm going to go all the way back to your question about where does their motivation come from, and we'll go back to the very first one that we talked to, Kyle Busch. I think he kind of answered that question in that their motivation comes from playoff points, because you can't ever have too many. You never know what's going to happen once you get into there. The other is each other. That motivation to be the one that everybody is talking about. Yeah, they all have 5, and 4 wins, I believe it is. And so they're all being talked about as a group. But what you want to do is separate yourself if at all possible. I don't see that happening because they're also very talented and their teams are performing at such a high level right now. So that's where their motivation comes from. It's great that they have that. It's great for us to watch because, as they were pointing out, when one of them gets a victory, then they feel like that it's their turn. They can't let someone get too far out there, and they want to know. What they really want them to know is that when we get to the playoffs, you're not getting far away from us. So you may be winning races and keeping up right now, but we're going to be right there with you. So we're the beneficiaries of being able to watch some great drivers perform at such a high level.
Yeah, and Truex wants to win bad at this track in the Cup Series for sure. Weather is all around, meaning so is desperation. A playoff ticket is up for grabs. When we come back, We're going to check in with Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. The NBC Race Team Takeover is going to start when we come back. Countdown to Green is brought to you by Sonic's new $3.99 crispy tender dinner. So flavorful and crispy. And by Progressive. Stay on track with great rates at progressive.com. Every driver comes here saying they want to win the lobster.
Let's get the lobster. Kyle Busch will win at New Hampshire.
Joey Logano looking for the big lobster in victory lane.
I don't like seafood, don't like lobsters, and then when you put like a 44-pound one in my hands, I'm freaked out.
Put him back.
Well, the New England version of NASCAR here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Good sign right here. The dryers are out on the racetrack, taking a little water off the surface. Hopefully that means we're getting closer to racing. But guys, the three of us up here in the booth, it's going to be a fun race. We're going to see it through the eyes of two drivers and a crew chief. And yes, the wardrobe is going to be casual. Although I didn't get a note. You don't get to see our T-shirts yet. So this isn't the T-shirt. Make sure I get this right. Pre-race shirt.
So you have a pre-race shirt and then a race shirt.
Well, I got a really good one, but if it, didn't want to waste it, we're going to stand up here and wait on this track to dry. So I got a closet full of these things. I'm hoping that this might, be something we start wearing more often. What do you guys think?
Well, you're politicking heavily.
Y'all have no confidence that this is going to be the start of something new.
Listen, it's been 63 races.
I can tell.
We have very little confidence.
Well, enough about the wardrobe. Let's talk about the race. This racetrack the last few years has been dominated by Toyota. How and why is that?
Well, number one, I think they have drivers that suit this racetrack, but I also think Toyota has come in and put a huge effort, not just in this racetrack, but on all racetracks. So when you think about this racetrack in general, 97% of the laps led here in the last 4 races. I'd say that's kind of dominant. But then you also have drivers like Kyle Busch, who is a great driver at every kind of racetrack. He has 3 wins here. Denny Hamlin, when you think about Martinsville, you think about this racetrack. Denny Hamlin's so good at those kind of racetracks. He has 3 wins here. The one that surprises me is Martin Truex Jr. He's led a ton of laps here, but never won. So, and for him, this racetrack, we just heard in the pre-race show how much this racetrack means to him. And it's surprising to me he's never won a cup race here. So I'd have to put him as one of the favorites today because of what good they were in practice. He's driving a Toyota, but also just how much it means to him to be here and try to win.
Well, you mentioned the favorites coming off great runs at Kentucky. Team Penske seems to have carried that momentum here to the Magic Mile. What have you seen so far in practice?
Well, we hear, everybody's talking about the big 3. We're always talking about the big 3. We're kind of looking at who's going to join that conversation. We want more guys to be up there battling for wins, and we saw Team Penske. They got Fords. SHR has Fords.
Right.
Why is there a gap between those two teams in performance? Well, we've seen that performance close a little bit. Blaney and Keselowski had great runs at Kentucky. Keselowski and Logano are really fast here. We've seen Blaney have a little speed at parts of the weekend at certain times, and so he may have a great run as well, but I think they're closing that gap a little bit. So I'm going to be watching that as we go forward, and I'm trying to be the first one out of us 3 to correctly choose who's going to go to Homestead, because we feel like, well, I know that you don't think all 3 of the big 3 are going to get there.
No, I don't. I think 2 of them, but I think one's going to miss out. I think that last round is too difficult.
Well, it'll be fun between us 3 who can guess correctly who makes it to Homestead, and so I'm watching outside of the big 3 who's making the move, and Penske's starting to do that.
I went head first with Boyer a couple months ago.
So you're still on that?
So I can't get off. I got to stay on it, right? I made a pick, so
he's made a habit of correcting his incorrect fantasy information as he goes week to week. I know you backed out of a couple things you decided.
I make some changes.
Yeah, he makes changes. So if you're allowed, if you want to make, I know that but you're.
But nothing would be worse than making a change and then it being Boyer. Now that would be like the mistake of the year.
Yeah. That's why you got to stick to your guns, man. Once you make a pick.
Yeah.
But so the best thing I've seen today is that the jet dryers on the racetrack.
Yeah.
That's cool. Want to see some racing. But you heard about the 2 drivers. What we're thinking about. But as a crew chief coming to this racetrack, what's on your mind?
Well, of
of all racetracks, this one definitely had the most sleepless Saturday nights. We talk about the unknown at Daytona and Talladega. Well, that happens on the racetrack, you know, the big accident, things you can't control. But the unknown here at New Hampshire and the Magic Mile is the surface itself. There are so many different series here. So every practice has an asterisk next to it. Oh, I had the wrong tire on the racetrack. And this one, they just sprayed the sticky stuff down. And so much changes throughout the weekend. I never had a good feeling about how the race was going to go. So now you add the weather in. And we kind of all knew this weather was coming. The crew chiefs knew. I think there's a lot of unknowns in the garage area on top of the pit boxes of how this race is going to go. Not only strategy, it's only 301 laps, it's a sprint, but how's your car going to drive? So it was always sleepless to me, but here, I didn't win here. You've won here more than anyone. 4 races. So did you have good? I mean, Saturday night you must have slept like a baby.
Well, the most unreported stat of all time is how many I lost here.
Oh, okay.
I lost a lot more than I won, and I think that a lot of that is, quite honestly, is this track is always changing. Like you just said, I mean, every time you come to this racetrack, it would be something different prior to the PJ1 and prior to the change in the banking angle in the second and third groove. So it's been the one consistent of this racetrack is it's always different. And you know, I heard you talking earlier. You guys came here and tested once. And I can remember coming here testing and then unloading and thinking, well, why did I come here and test? I mean, why did we spend that money in that time? So I just think that for me, part of my success was recognizing it was going to be different and not thinking, okay, we can run this setup because we won with it last week or last year, because it just, every time you came here, it's something different.
Well, you mentioned different. It's a different perspective from us up here in the booth. Rick, our booth mate, has a different perspective. Rick, you're down in the garage here, down on pit road. How's it going for you down below?
Well, first of all, I want to say you guys look way too comfortable up there without me. And now that you're wearing T-shirts, I'm feeling a little bit left out because I'm going to wear a collared golf shirt today. But it is a different perspective, and it's great to look at a race from a different perspective, and I get that opportunity today, hopefully, as the rain comes down. And I'm noticing that I did get this role with it raining. So that means that obviously somebody's not happy about me being down here on pit road. I'm not sure. Higher up, I would say. But it's been fun to be able to talk to these drivers, and incredible. Just now I was able to interview Kurt Busch down here. We talked about everything. It actually ended up being an infomercial, but it was a lot of fun to get a little more insight, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is watching these teams work. Steve, you mentioned on the pit box, it's, you know, a different perspective. On pit road, it's been incredible to see what these guys do. Yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, I was able to see things happen from up above in the booth, but the things that happened on pit road that affected the way the race came out. So now I'm going to be watching. I have 9 teams down here on pit road that I'll be following right in the middle of pit road. And so I'm looking forward to this perspective, watching how these crew chiefs work, watching how the teams work, and seeing who can take advantage of a great pit stop and potentially get to victory lane.
You mentioned the chaos on pit road. Well, after the break, it's going to be the chaos of Rainfill, which is an interview with this guy. You have no idea what could happen.
We get to interview him?
Oh, yeah, this is good.
Oh, you better come back.
He got the casual.
No easy questions today. Gonna be hard. Math quiz for Clint Boyer.
Track drawing still underway here at New Hampshire. Let's take a quick look at the playoff standings. You see the big 3 names at the top: Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex. But how about that guy in 4th place, 2-time winner this season, Clint Boyer? Jeff, I think we're going to have a little conversation where there's no telling, guys, where this could go. No telling. You said math quiz?
Math quiz for Clint.
This should be great.
So, Clint, you saw that we're dressing the way we're dressing, so you just jumped ahead first in with us?
I figured if you guys are going to dress like bumps today, surely I can. You know, it's a rainy, crummy day, so this is rainy, crummy day attire, right?
Well, it is a rainy, crummy day. Hopefully it'll blow out of here, though. We'll get some racing. Let's talk first about your year. Not a rainy, crummy year at all. Finally get back to victory lane, not just once, but twice. Tell us about your season. It's been great to watch.
Man, it's been a fun year. You know, you got to give credit where credit's due, and that's all the guys and women at Stewart-Haas Racing. Ford, you know, you see me in this shirt, loud and proud, man. All the Fords have been strong all year long. It's been a fun year to be in a Ford, and we got to finish it out strong, right? We've got 7 races to go before the cutoff. Got work to do. We need to win more races. That's the thing that's crazy about our sport is you go in such a long drought and all of a sudden you get that taste of blood in you and you get another one and now you want to be even more greedy and need to get more wins so we can get established with these guys and be that conversation for a championship.
Well, if we get this rain out of here and get this race started today, we want to know where you are with your race car. You've been working on it all weekend. I know this rain's going to change the track a little bit, but how do you feel about the issues you've been working on?
Yeah, we've struggled actually all weekend long. We weren't very good in qualifying trim and rolled into race trim, and I'm a lot more comfortable in race trim. I think our long run speed will be fine. This is a track where you got to be good. You need that short takeoff speed so you can be good on the front side of those runs, because it seems like when we're doubled up, that's the best way to capitalize and pass if you need to. But long run speeds always seems to prevail in this sport no matter what. And I think it will at this track again. The rain, it's all over the place. About the time you think, man, it looks all right, it's starting to clear up a little bit. It's raining right now behind the camera as hard as it has all day long. So we'll get through it. Hey, man, as somebody that's got a farm at home and it's dry, really dry, and burn up back home, the farmers are all needing it on their corn and their beans and their crops. So I'm not going to whine about the rain. If Mother Nature doesn't want us to race today, we'll get it in when we can. I know that's not very popular, but like I said, it's a lot of people are dry and needing the rain, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Well, Farmer Clint, I want to know one thing. So I went on record a couple weeks ago saying that you were the guy that was going to make it to Homestead, and these two, they're like waffling. They won't pick anybody. They don't have enough nerve to pick somebody. Are you going to let me down, man?
Well, I appreciate you sticking with me. I've been friends for a long time and good teammates and learned a lot from you. So nobody does it any better or did it any better than you back here at New Hampshire when we came up here and put that to good use for 2 wins. We need some more wins. There's no question. I understand. It's crazy how this sport is. You get on a roll and you get those 3 top 5s, you're thinking, boy, we got them. This is easy. And the next thing you know, you get tripped up at Daytona and kind of leave there on a sour note. And deep down, it's in the back of your mind, that plays a role. Momentum is such a big thing, whether you want to believe it or not. Rolled out of there, and it just kind of trickled on. So we need to get that nipped in the butt. We need to get a strong run here and get that positive momentum and vibe back in our race team with the 14 car and beat them other guys. It seems like the 78 has really come into his own here, and the 18's been strong. My teammate Kevin Harvick's been strong all season long. If anybody is there for the taking with 2 wins and the confidence and the swagger we have in our race team, we're capable of doing that. Capability is the hardest thing to get. That's not anything you can make up or anything else. Our team is capable of getting the job done, but we got to step up to the plate and get it going. Rick, actually, your counterpart just walked up behind me. I'm so confused right now. You got Steve. Put it back on so I can see that. Okay. All right, let's go back to the other guys.
Imagine that.
All right, so look here, Rick. You got Steve, and everybody knows him, a maniac. You got Jeff. It's the intelligent guy somehow in between all of them. You got the richest guy in the whole booth in a darn T-shirt for crying out loud. And then we got you. You're a mix between like a weatherman, you look like, a radio jockey because of your voice, and like you're the mediocre or the mediator between all of them. So you guys got it going on. Oh, by the way, my pack. Kelly's pack here wouldn't fit around me. If you can measure up our waist, her pack wouldn't fit around me, wouldn't fit around my leg for that matter. So she's had to have been kneeling behind me with her pack. This steal is out of control.
Clint, when you said
nip it started with T-shirts.
When you said nip it in the butt, and I was standing over here, I was like, no, I think it's nip it in the bud. I think it's bud, my friend.
Yeah. So there you go.
But you know what? I think you have definitely got the greatest outfit going right now because you got the Jayhawk sweatpants going on.
I was wondering if those were sweatpants.
There's definitely. I was gonna tuck it in, clean up.
my
look
appearance
good.
a little bit
You
and
look
tuck
good.
it in,
Go
but I
back,
figured it'd be
hey,
too far.
Clint, go get back on the couch. Wait on this rain.
I'm telling you.
It is pouring, by the way.
Kelly, and the lightest the sky has been. It's crazy. But Kelly, is this normal, trying to deal with all of this?
I just love that this is how Rick is getting initiated into being on pit road with this rain, this chaos, coming here to interview you.
Let me tell you something I did yesterday that, in life, you do things and you know better than to do them. I went to a downhill mountain bike
Deep
park
thoughts with Clint Boyer.
with my crew chief and all my car guys.
You were on a
It's
bike?
the craziest thing I've ever
Did
done.
you ride a bike?
In 14 years, no, let's not get ahead of ourselves. No spandex and none of that. But elbow pads, helmet, and I'm signing the waiver. Anytime you sign a waiver and you have to
gotta
put
be
an
nervous.
emergency contact down, you need to pull away. You need to think about what you're getting into and get the hell out of there. So I text my wife after I'm filling her information out. I'm like, if you get a phone call from somebody weird in New Hampshire, there's a good chance I'm dead, and this is where the information is that you need to know. So
Is that something
happened
that you
yesterday.
say, Cash, don't do this?
Definitely, but I did it. Jimmy Johnson told me about this a few years ago, and I went over there and was airing out some jumps and having a good time with the guys. I'm not going to put it.
Jumps.
Yes, doing everything you're not supposed to do. Like I was
He's
a
got
kid
the lingo
again.
down already.
But
get some big air.
my crew chief, he didn't fare so well.
Really?
Oh, no.
The
He go
crew
down?
chiefs had a rough day yesterday. For all of their sakes, my guy went down a couple times, went over the handlebars.
Really?
I'm glad it didn't hurt him because it was kind of funny when he come down the hill. Nobody knew where he was at. It's like, man, we lost a guy. We're a man down. We got to go back. And about that time, here he comes down. He's got dirt all over him. And
Would you do it
all
again,
tore
Clint?
up. What? No, I probably wouldn't.
Yes,
actually.
you would.
No.
Look, Clint.
Maybe in the wintertime. I don't think you should do that
What if
before
it,
a
up
race.
here in the wintertime?
We appreciate
At
the
least fixing to
chaos.
put you back to work if I got hurt.
We appreciate the chaos, but I don't think Kelly can hold the
Can
pack
I
any
go back
longer.
in and watch Tiger?
Kelly's arm.
Kelly's doing the best she can. Guys,
He's
hey, I just
fell
want to
back
point
out
out
of it.
that Jeff, I don't know how you feel about your pick, but your TV expertise is hinging on his performance. What we just talked to and listened to. Good luck.
I'm second guessing myself. He's coming through, man. He's going to do it. He's coming through for me.
The chaos. Chaos. Chaos of Clint Boyer never disappoints. Oh, my goodness. He makes my sides hurt.
I just can't tell you. You know what? I'm going to ride my...
That's Joey Logano in the
No.
grandstands.
That's awesome.
Keelan Harvick is now laying in the water, as you can see, folks. That's awesome.
Who's your favorite driver?
Danny Howdy.
Do the other Toyota drivers know that?
Yeah, he knows. So
What? Look, Matt Kenseth, what?
Okay, so when it rains, we don't have racing, but we have great moments like that as the rain continues to fall here at New Hampshire. And I would say the Clint Boyer interview that we just had in the last segment, DJ, would probably qualify for one of those top highlights.
That maybe was the best segment of TV I've ever seen in my life. That's just classic. I mean, I can go back home and watch it time after time.
Yeah, well, let's see what other drivers are doing. We know Clint Boyer is trying to fit Kelly's RF pack around his leg. Social pit stop. So Matt DiBenedetto, his crew, they're eating some ice cream. Very smart.
Imagine that. We've got another segment showing, or something showing Matt eating again.
Our Dustin Long posted this, said that Stenhouse's crew is keeping up with the Open.
Doesn't surprise me at all. Ricky Stenhouse, really good golfer himself, and so he's got his team involved watching the Open.
Okay, and Dustin, if you could get those highlights or
Yeah, let me know
updates up
what's
to
going
DJ
on.
as
Yes.
well. Look at this little guy pushing the 24 team. You know, Letarte started sweeping the floors at 16. Maybe
That's right.
this little guy will be the crew chief someday.
Never know. Yeah, put his application in now.
Very cool. I like that hashtag too. Kids drive NASCAR. Keep those coming for sure. Look at Brad Keselowski. His daughter Scarlett, they're building forts.
You know, that's one of there aren't many upsides to a rain delay from a driver's standpoint, but if it gives you more time with your kids, they're on the road with you, then there's nothing better.
All right, so we'll continue to show you what drivers are doing. We'll continue to hear from drivers. But mentioning Brad Keselowski, he was busy yesterday because he was in the Xfinity race. Let's take a look back. Now, he won the pole, DJ, but he had to start in the back because he missed the driver's meeting.
Yeah,
late to the driver's
meeting. It was just late by like 80 seconds, but you're late. That's just like you're missing it, so he had to go to the back, see what he could do from there.
Okay, the number 20, that's last week's winner, Christopher Bell, picking up where he left off, winning stage 1.
Yeah, just a solid run. He said it wasn't one of his better racetracks, but you wouldn't have known that watching him yesterday.
So, but here comes Brad. Brad Keselowski completes his charge from the back, takes the lead away from Christopher Bell.
Yeah,
So
they
we
put on a
kinda have a
tremendous battle. Yeah, you could kind of see this shaping up, but things later on, you just didn't know with strategies. Some people got 2 tires. Brad and his team took 2 tires. Christopher Bell got 4 tires. And then the end of this race was just incredible racing. And Christopher Bell, knowing that he had a Cup champion on his bumper there, never wavered, never slipped one time. And I'm going to say that he's very talented, but I think that it helps when you come from the dirt background and cars that don't have mirrors. That young man, I don't think, ever looked in the mirror. He wasn't concerned with what was going on around him. He looked out front, and what did he see? The checkered flag, and then he gave it away.
Yeah, talk about kids drive NASCAR. Very cool. I mean, Christopher Bell's a kid himself.
Yes.
What, 20 years old from Oklahoma, his 3rd win of the season. And there with the victory, he now has a series-leading 3 wins, 18 playoff points. Daniel Hemrick took the lead in the battle for the regular season championship by 6 points over Bell. Remember, the regular season champion receives 15 playoff points. That race will be decided in September. 12 will move on. As for yesterday's race, Marty Snyder was in victory lane and spoke with Christopher Bell.
How'd you hold off the 22 there, Christopher?
Man, the better tires, they didn't hurt us, that's for sure. That was nice. Jason was able to put 4 on there, and man, we got going into that long green flag run, and I was getting really nervous because I didn't have a tach, so I didn't really know how I was going to get down pit road, but luckily I got the best spotter on the roof, man, and Tony was able to kind of guide me and let me know, all right, I think you can pick it up a little bit, and then a couple times he told me to slow it down, so it worked out for us. We were able to take 4 tires there, and that was a big deal.
Growing up as a kid in Norman, Oklahoma, did you ever dream on back-to-back weeks you would beat Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski?
That's pretty special. I never dreamed I would be here at Joe Gibbs Racing. I never dreamed I'd be racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, honestly. But, man, I'm just proud of this entire group at Joe Gibbs Racing. This number 20 team works their butts off. And really happy for all of our partners at Rheem, Rude, GameStop, Toyota, obviously everyone at TRD. And bottom line, I'm really thankful for Jack Irving, Tyler Gibbs, Pete Willoughby, Keith Coons. Those guys were the ones that put their neck out on the line, Rick Ferkel as well, and Darren Rustin. So those guys right there put their neck out on the line for me, and here I am today.
All the folks at Toyota who got you to the spot. I want to ask you, post-race, you decided to give away that flag. You got to work hard for that flag. Why the spur-of-the-moment decision to give it away to a young fan?
I hope it means a lot more to that kid than it does to me. You know, we get trophies. We get all sorts of trophies. So hopefully it means a lot to that kid.
And I shortchanged Christopher Bell. He's actually 23 years old. So still a kid, though. Still not much older than that young guy right there. But what he's doing right now in the series is pretty incredible.
Yeah, very impressive to say the least at being able to do the things he's done. You know, he came from the back at Kentucky to beat Kyle Busch, and then he holds off Brad Keselowski yesterday. Very, very talented in so many different ways. And, you know, Toyota does a great job in developing these young drivers, bringing them along. The downside of it is they move them along a little too fast for us to enjoy them in the Xfinity Series very long, because I believe this young man will be in a ride somewhere in a Toyota next year in the Cup Series.
And think about what he's trying to do. The series goes to Iowa next week. He finished 2nd there in June. So if he wins 3 straight, nobody has done that, a non-Cup regular, since a guy named Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in 1999.
Yeah, and he went on to do pretty well too. So I mean, he's setting the bar pretty high here, but very capable of making all of these things happen. It'll be interesting to watch him.
Board for the Xfinity Series. When we come back, we'll switch back over to the Cup Series, talk about those bubble drivers, the ones who, when we go racing today, are racing. Everyone's racing for the win, but there's that race within the race. We have that. Plus, we're going to hand out some senior superlatives in the garage. That's coming up next.
Let's start that show! Yes!
Is that yours? Yeah. You drive an old man car?
I figures.
I unplugged my earphones right there, and I'm listening to them, and then I'm like, you know what? You're not saying anything I want to hear right now, so I plugged them back in.
What's going on? Ricky, can you name any you didn't call? Just off the top of your head.
Brad might be one. Everything you say into the microphone, they're still booing. So it's like, oh.
Too wide?
Hell no. Never going to happen. Not a chance. There's 2 bosses I have. One of them's a female and the other one's old. The old one said no.
Man, that really brings up a lot of questions.
I'm making notes. Radio, public consumption. Got it.
I took photography classes in high school. This guy right here.
Did you miss that whole thing?
Yes, I just missed that whole thing.
Absolutely. I'm a fan of myself.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
We're out.
You're the man.
Hey, it was fun.
All right, if you are not watching TV, NBCSN at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays, that is an example of what you're missing. That was Wednesdale last week with Kyle Busch.
Yeah, we have a great time when it's just us, but when these drivers stop by, you can see right there, their personalities really come out. People want to talk about these drivers a lot of times being very vanilla and don't want to get out and talk. We see a different side of these drivers, and this week coming up is going to be Chase Elliott, and it's going to be a lot of fun to get to know him a little bit better, but that's so much fun. Dale Jr. does a great job with, and they really open up talking with him.
Yeah, and with Chase, they're going to, we have this NBC team takeover today going on with Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the booth. We're kind of keeping that theme going because there's not going to be a true host with Chase either. We're just sort of winging it.
Throwing it out there?
Yeah.
I think he'll,
I think he'll be okay.
They can do that, yeah. And these guys are going to be great whenever we do run this race, so looking forward to that.
They're looking forward. We were looking forward to seeing what Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s T-shirt is because he said the one he's wearing right now is just his pre-race T-shirt. He's breaking out something else for the race.
Only Dale Jr. can do those things, yes. Yes. So we are looking forward to that, though.
Let's talk Chase Elliott specific to making the playoffs because he's in, I guess, I don't know if there's really such a thing as a safe position. He's 51 points ahead of the cut line, but 15th, only 16 move on. So what's going on with Chase Hendrick Motorsports in general right now?
Yeah, Hendrick Motorsports there. It's just shocking to sit there and see that 14th, 15th, and 16th, that's where they're at. We're not accustomed to seeing this. And certainly when you look at Chase, I think you look at that 51 points, and the thing that comes to my mind immediately is the 45 points that they've been docked for penalties in this first half of the season. And so that they would be in a much better spot. It kind of puts them in a difficult spot right here because making a mistake along the way could be very costly to them, but they still have to race hard because they know that they have a good race driver that's capable of going at it, even though he hasn't won that race yet, very capable of running up there and getting that win at any time. But I think there's a real balance. You can't win the championship if you're not a part of the playoffs, so continue to get better and get yourself ready for that. So do the right things. Gather stage points whenever you can, make good decisions at the end of the race, and he's very smart in doing that. And as we talk about Hendrick Motorsports, yeah, they're used to pressure in all kinds of ways. Most of the time, it's battling for championships and race wins on a regular basis. That's not the case right now. But one thing we know, that their leader, Rick Hendrick, isn't going to let this go on for very long. It's not that everybody's not trying, but he's going to motivate this group. And whenever you have people that you're motivating, like Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, who signed on for a couple of extra years, you know that they're going to get this ship righted, headed in the right direction, and the young group of drivers that they got are going to be up there battling inside the top 10, top 5, and ready for some wins.
Well, and when the bubble is so close like that, those stage points that you talked about are so crucial. Chevrolet has only earned, I think, has won stages with A.J. Allmendinger and Kyle Larson. That's it. So when you think about the races we have coming up, Pocono, look at Watkins Glen, what could happen there. I mean, really, that bubble could shift a whole lot. Someone like A.J. Allmendinger wins a stage, and this whole thing changes.
Yeah, you just never know exactly what's going to happen, and you have to figure out and pick your battles as to where you know that those opportunities are there for you without taking huge chances if you're in that position. Obviously, if you're Ryan Newman and Daniel Suarez, you have to take a few more chances in trying to gather as many points as you possibly can. It's not about a stage win, although that gets you a lot of points to go in their battle. But the main thing is giving yourself an opportunity. Don't put yourself in a position that's going to cost you more and then make it a must-win situation. So there's a lot of things to think about. I don't care if you're the driver, the crew chief, the owner. These things are all being talked about and thought about. How do we go about making sure if we're inside that top 16, how do we make sure that we stay there? And if we're outside, how do we go about making and putting a little bit more pressure on those guys to make it? So that's what's great about the playoff system that we have now, the stages that we have, is that gives more opportunities for these drivers and teams to look at, besides just going to the end of the race and saying, okay, this is how many points we can get there. We can gather points throughout the day just by doing our job really, really good.
Well, right now, our job is to continue to bring you the updates from New Hampshire Motor Speedway as the weather continues to delay the start of this race. But it does give us, as we've said, a great chance to really see these drivers in a different light, to hear the agricultural report from Clint Boyer, as we did just a little while ago. So it also gives us a chance to see, what if we asked who in the garage would have what title if we handed out senior superlatives?
So let's say that there's a Monster Energy Cup Series yearbook. Who would be voted the class clown?
Class clown? I mean, everybody would say Boyer. It's got to be Clint. Boyer. Boyer, for sure. Probably say Boyer wins out, and I'd probably say almost every driver that's sat in this chair says the same thing. Clint Boyer. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. He's the annoying loudmouth in the back.
Probably me. I feel like I've been set up for this question. It's not very fair on me, but it would probably be me.
I mean, I want to say Boyer, but he's just more nuts.
Who's the biggest nerd of the class?
Oh, man, there's a tough race in this one. I mean, their teammates, Brad and Joey, are neck and neck.
Ryan Blaney, for sure. He's really into Star Wars.
Brad Keselowski.
Did you see the video of him trying to play basketball?
Logano's close, though. That's why they're teammates.
It'd probably be any one of the Penske drivers. Is that weird that both my teammates is what everyone thinks is the biggest nerds?
Joey Logano. He or Brad, I feel like, would compete with that. They would be the ones, like, going off to other school competitions for, like, mathletes and stuff.
Those two voted that I was the biggest nerd. Really?
So everybody likes to look good. Who's the best dressed?
The best dress? Oh, that's my boy, Austin Dillon. He's always on the point.
I will give it to Austin Dillon. I feel like Austin Dillon is always wearing something ridiculous.
Austin Dillon always wears, like, nice clothes.
I think my brother is probably the most out there as far as his dressing. He's a sharp dresser, though. Maybe I'll go with him.
Austin comes in wearing some tuxedos sometimes to the driver's meeting.
If a guy shows up in a suit at a driver's meeting, I'll have to give it to him.
He probably just tries a little harder than everyone else.
He's probably got more money in his closet than I have in cars. I got that covered. It's not even a game. I am the game when it comes to style.
So, DJ, you were the one asking those questions. Were you surprised? It seemed like they were pretty consistent in their answers.
Unbelievable. I mean, here we thought that when they're in the garage area that they're only paying attention to their race cars. Oh, no. They've got a lot more going on, paying attention to everything there. But it was so interesting to hear that each one of them had pretty much the same answer along the lines. But after that past segment that we were talking about with Clint Boyer, and I know he said he was kind of set up there, I think that he's certainly verified that he is that.
Yeah, we didn't really need the proof, but he kind of gave it to us as we continue the rain delay.
But we appreciate it.
So I guess of our group, though, who would be voted most likely to give you like a rain-soaked hug after the end of an interview down in the garage? Rutledge would. That was
I think
Marty. What would yours be?
That was an easy one. Krista Rutledge would definitely give you the rain-soaked hug, but Austin Dillon was watching that going, yeah, you're right, I'm the best dressed. I mean, you own it, don't you?
Well, in a T-shirt today, I don't know if I can say that. I'm chilling, hoping this, it's kind of dying down. It's starting to mist a little bit. Yeah. It was really pouring earlier, but it's been a fun day, kind of waiting on the rain to clear, watching golf.
All right, well, let's check out some of the threads you've worn. Now, Bubba accused you of wearing a tuxedo, the driver's meeting. I don't think you've gone that far, have you?
No, my guys at Stitch, they hooked me up. I had a suit on at the driver's meeting in Vegas, so I'll take it. When you're best at something, at least I've got that covered. I got the dress part.
Well, that's good, you know. But I don't know if Bowman's saying you have more money invested in your closet than he has in cars. Is that too far?
No, you just got to know the right people. See, my guys at Stitch, they take care of me. And you don't have to put that much into it. So, but they do a really good job in Vegas at the Stitch location. They also have one in Washington and Miami. So that's where I get all my threads from.
Very impressive that you swept the best dressed category. No questions asked. All right, let's talk about your race season. How has it been after Daytona? I know it's been tough for all the Chevy teams, but for you guys at RCR.
It's been hard. You know, we've been working hard to get the Camaro ZL1 pretty fast. We've shown some good spots in qualifying at times. We've been able to qualify toward the front and make the third round a couple times, but we haven't been able to carry that speed into the race. So working hard on these cars to be able to carry that speed into the race and work on them. We worked really hard this weekend, changed a lot of stuff on our Dow Chevy, and hopefully it comes together when we get to go racing and the PJ1 and all that activates, and let's see if our car goes to the front.
How many times this year have you said, man, I'm glad I made that move on the last lap of the Daytona 500?
A lot. Still saying it, you know. You got to be aggressive to put yourself in a position, and sometimes you have years when you don't have the fastest cars, and you got to work hard to be in the playoffs. And luckily, we have our spot locked up, and we're still working hard to make our cars competitive when we get in the playoffs, so we can make speed. And our cars were 17th and 18th. We'll run the same lap times between me and Newman, and we're working hard to find it mechanically, and hopefully we can get it there toward the playoff time.
All right, if you had to hand out a senior superlative to your brother, what would you give him? Like class goofy clown, what would you give Ty?
Best dad.
Best dad, really? Some guys in there might say, I should be that.
I'll give him #1 dad, man. He does a lot with Oakley and does a really good job taking care of her.
All right, and by the way, they have the little scooter right here for Oakley here, hanging out right by Austin Dillon's bus. And good news, Parker, guess what? They just fired the Air Titans back up, so I believe Austin's right. The rain is letting up, and who knows, we might be headed towards racing today.
That's great news, Marty. I love the sound of those, and the guy that might like the sound of those is Matt Kenseth over here. We can't really talk about what we were just talking about, but how's life? I want to know, how's Matt Kenseth right now?
Everything's great.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm doing well, just trying to chill in the rain here and everything. All right, let's talk racing then. You and I were just discussing, what's it feel like to be back, being that #6 car?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Obviously, it's been a little bit of a challenge so far. I felt like last weekend we took a couple small steps forward. So Friday wasn't a good day, but yesterday we seemed to get going a little bit better. So hopeful for today that we can move our way toward the front a little bit.
And I was talking to your teammate, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and he said to me, it has been amazing what Matt Kenseth has brought to this organization already. Do you feel like you've made an impact? He said it felt like the feedback you were giving and some of the things about the cars were really helpful.
I don't feel like I've been any help at all so far. If you want me to,
well, that's good.
Yeah, if you want me to be totally honest, I don't feel like I've been a help at all. So we're trying hard. We're trying to identify some of the problems and some of the things we can do better, and to get the cars going a little bit better. But no, I've probably been disappointed with the difference that I've made or not made so far. But we're working hard at it. And we're trying to get better.
And last week was a top 21. What's a successful day today?
Man, I don't know. Just to keep trying to do everything a little bit better. I thought last weekend, finishing in top 20 is not what we want, obviously, but it was certainly better than what we've been before that. That was a small step forward, but kind of unique racetrack. So qualifying went really bad here, but like I said, practice was a little bit better. So if we can just move our way toward the front and execute and have a good day and operate at a higher level, I think that'd be a good day.
And your meteorologist hat, we're going to go racing? You and I were just talking about it?
Well, it's funny, I don't know why, but I can't find a good weather app on my phone anymore. They discontinued the one I had, so I was kind of looking at the radar and couldn't figure it out. So I texted Pusha. I'm like, hey, man, I just heard the dryer's out there. Does that mean, the rain's stopping and we're going to get He's like, oh, yeah. We're in a window right now. And then it rained like so hard you couldn't even see. So I don't believe anybody.
Well, Kelly, I'm going to let him believe that there is jet dryers out there right now.
Yeah, we were kind of laughing earlier because it's like rain comes out and everyone's suddenly a meteorologist. We all have our phones all looking at different apps. Hey, I'll tell you what caught my attention here at Eric Jones' bus. This giant dog dish, because there is not one but two giant dogs, Oscar and Bailey, in there. That place has got to get a little bit crowded.
That's a little crowded. We've got a full house this weekend. That's my mom's dog is here. My dog is Oscar, and he takes up enough room as it is, so it's a full house.
All right, well, let's turn our attention to the race, which is why we're here. It's been a good track for you. And when I talked to your crew chief, Chris Gailey, it was almost like it's kind of a surprise. It's a flat 1 mile. Why does it suit you so well?
I don't know. We were kind of laughing about it yesterday because I was like, I should really like Martinsville if I like this place, but they are a lot different. Big sweeping corners here. And I think just it's such a momentum track in a lot of ways, and I feel like I'm pretty good at the momentum rhythm kind of track. So it just fits some of my styles, and the PJ1 application has actually helped me even more here. So anytime there's more grip, I feel like we're a little bit better. And I've had good Camrys here too. I mean, I've had good Camrys and good Tundras too when I came here in the trucks, so that hasn't hurt it one bit at all.
We're just a couple weeks removed from your first career win. When I talk to Chris Gailey, talks about the pressure being off of him, worrying about every single call that he makes, the setups in the cars. How has it affected you and your attitude?
It's been the same for me. I mean, the pressure is off for now. A few more weeks until the playoff starts, and then it's going to be back on full force again. But, it is nice to be locked in and not have to fret these next few weeks. We were in a good position to be pointing our way in, but having that win definitely makes it a lot easier. And we can really focus on what it's going to take to contend with, Harvick and Truex and Kyle as well. So just working through that and trying to learn more about it and really take some
bigger swings and some chances with setups that we wouldn't have been able to take if we were not locked in has been pretty beneficial to us. So we're going to keep working on that and keep going through that, and it's made it a lot easier the last few weeks.
You're one of the young stars in this series, but when I was hanging out with your team a couple weeks ago, they said you're the oldest 22-year-old they've ever met. They said your style of music is old school, that you love the history of the sport. Where do you think you get all that from?
I don't know. I'd say a lot of it was from my dad on a lot of things. The history of the sport was just something I was always kind of interested in. Even when I was a kid, I liked, watching old races and just was a fan of NASCAR in general and the history of it. So I don't know. I've always just been a fan of that kind of stuff and always, thought it was neat and just kind of embraced it now at this point. So it's something that, makes you a little bit different, I guess, along the way. And I've always thought that was kind of fun. So it just something to kind of embrace and do a little bit different than the crowd.
The other thing different that you had been doing, of course, was rocking that really sweet mullet, which is now gone, sadly. I know when I go to the salon, I get just a couple inches trimmed off. The first time I shampoo my hair, it always feels a little bit different. What's it been like for you?
It's been different. It's a lot less shampoo. I think I used way too much the first day, but no, it's been all right. I'm used to it now for the most part. It's definitely shorter than I'd like right now, but it's been cooler this weekend. It hasn't been hot in the car, but it's definitely been a little bit cooler, so it's been nice.
All right, go back, hang out with Oscar and Bailey. Thanks so much for your time.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. No one told me where.
I knew Kelly was going to ask about the mullet.
Well, absolutely. You had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he wins today or in the next, we need to do like a split screen of his victory lane, and just because of the difference in the
and kind of the things drivers will do for sponsors and things like that. But that's what you do. And, it worked well for him there. I think he's probably got a really good chance here when this race takes on. One of the first places I saw him race was Phoenix in a truck, and he was just outstanding. And even though this place is different, that momentum that he was talking about, you have to carry through the corner, is a lot like that here. It's what you need to do and do well, and he can learn from his teammate Kyle Busch, who's one of the very best at it.
Yeah, the success of Joe Gibbs Racing at this track, phenomenal. They've won 5 of the last 6 races here, so Eric Jones, definitely one to watch. And when we come back, one to watch. Oh, he's doing it. Rutledge is getting in. What do we say? How much is that car? Only 100 of these were made. Rutledge is going to get in next.
Mark Truex Jr. as he wins in Kentucky.
Martin Truex Jr., the reigning champion, one of the favorites to race for a championship again this year. The 38-year-old from New Jersey is also a product of Northeast Racing. So coming to this track holds special memories for Truex Jr., who took a walk down memory lane with Rutledge Wood.
Being on the track, what's your earliest memory of coming here to New Hampshire?
Sitting in turn 1 with my mom and my little brother when he was probably, 3 or 4, watching my dad practice here. I think I was 13.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And the rookie, Martin Truex Jr., is 3/4 of a mile from his very first victory.
What was the first race that you won here?
First race I won here was in 2000, which back then was Busch North Series, now K&N.
This kid, he did it all. Martin Truex Jr., what a great drive.
Now, that was a pretty emotional victory lane for you. That was a, you know what, that
You gonna bring that up?
Oh, of course. Like, it looked like someone was cutting onions in the car.
I was pretty excited.
I can't believe it. This is awesome.
A few tears shed down here in Victory Lane.
When we would come here, it was like Daytona, right? It was the center of that series. It was the biggest track to win at back then.
Why did coming to New Hampshire feel like going to Daytona?
Well, I mean, you think about the tracks that they raced on. It was all short tracks. They were the main event. And then you come here, the Cup cars are here, the Cup guys, they're up there in their haulers watching the race. The owners are up there. You think about that, and it was a completely different stage.
Is that win, do you think, the most important part of you getting legitimized and people going, no, this is the guy, this is somebody we need to put in a car?
I would say that was the first time that people probably heard my name. That kind of put me on the racing map. And I was only 20 years old.
Did it in front of Dale Jarrett, Richard Petty, all those guys. What a thrill.
DJ, we've talked about this a lot this weekend, how this place is so special and what it means to Martin Truex Jr., and he explained it there.
Yeah, and he's not the only driver from up in this part of the country that knows this is special, but that are great race drivers that have come from here. Dale Jr. gave him that shot. I remember the first time that I heard Martin's name. Of course, I knew his dad and raced against him, but he's just so talented. And then now he's getting the opportunity to really show that out with an excellent race team and see what that is. So I always know what it's like to come to that special place, or that place that's special to you. So that adds a little pressure, but a little incentive for him here this weekend.
And you can see more of that interview on our series Racing Roots with Truex Jr. It debuts August 4th after the Watkins Glen Xfinity Series race. And Rutledge truly is everywhere. You just saw him talking with Martin Truex Jr. When we went to break, he was about to climb in, I believe, that car that Joey Logano talked about. Rutledge, you're in the car.
Krista, I have amazing news. I am indeed in the driver's seat of this beautiful Pagani Huayra. My buddy Jeff's here. He and his dad, they've got a pair of these, and I thought the one that was just a little bit flashier than the other. I don't know how to tell you guys this. There's no easy way to say it. You know, they said who would end up driving this car when Marty was talking to Joey earlier, and it looks like I'm the winner. There's no easy way to say it. I'm in the car. I've got the keys. Dale, we will be happy to come pick you up. I think if we did 5 or 6 laps around the track with about 800 horsepower, I think we could get the track dried in, I'm going to say 12 minutes, conservatively.
I was just looking at my phone. No text, no missed calls, nothing, Rut. I can't believe it.
Well, maybe it's because we're all still dressed up. If you were wearing a T-shirt, it would be easier for me to call you. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great day, guys. I've done a lot of thought, and I think it's time to go.
Yeah, I had no doubt that you would find your way and make your way into that car.
So you're going to do this. You're going to drive that car.
I think it's the right thing to do, Krista.
With the owner sitting next to you.
If you had access to a car like this, would you take it back right away?
It's like Ferris Bueller.
Neither would I.
Bye, Rut.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Rut, I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You can? Okay, so, hey, do you have time for a shout-out? Because Dale Jr. always gives shout-outs on Wednesday. Do you have a shout-out today?
Oh, my gosh, I love shout-outs. Yes, you know who I want to shout out to?
Who?
Dave the Bullet Smith. I feel like him right now. I saw him get fired out of a cannon yesterday, and that's how I feel right now.
There he is. That was at the Fisher Cats game.
It was, right at our hotel last night. Incredible.
Our crack statistician telling us what Dave Smith has been shot out of a cannon over 8,000 times in 15 different countries.
He looked like he knew what he was doing right there, but it was amazing.
Times.
Yeah, I don't know why you want to do that, but he's found his niche.
And I don't know why you would want to leave your television when we have great content like that for you from New Hampshire.
I think we've lost Rut for the day.
No, I know. Look at he's definitely hitting an interstate after this. We'll be back with more.
Kyle Busch will win at New Hampshire. Kenseth will have the pleasure of hoisting the lobster.
Yes, sir, DH. That's what I'm talking about. Nice work, guys.
A new opportunity awaits a driver here in New Hampshire, and awaits is the key word because Mother Nature is winning the race right now, but you see the Air Titans, the jet dryers out on the track trying to get things dry so these guys can go racing today. One of those, hoping that is the case, is with Kelly Stavis.
That is, of course, Chase Elliott. But you talk about opportunities. I still can't believe the opportunity that Rutledge Wood just had driving around a $3.5, $4 million car, whatever he lived. Can you imagine Rutledge Wood, Chase, with that kind of power at his fingertips?
No, I can't. And whoever okayed that needs to be fired, I'm afraid.
I think there should have been some waivers filled out for sure. All right, let's talk about this track. You have called it a very difficult place. You've also said it can be very frustrating. Why is that?
Yeah, it is just a frustrating place, or at least it has been for me. Yeah, just haven't really clicked with this track. I feel like a lot of my struggles that I've had at Martinsville seem to come out here just in a little bigger way. The corners remind me a little bit of that, and yeah, it hasn't been a great place. But it's a new weekend, so maybe we get it turned around. We had one good run here, I think, in 2016, the fall race, but that's been about it. So. Hopefully I can get something good going here today.
All right, well, when we look at the playoff standings as well, it's a little bit precarious for you. You guys are on the positive side of things, but when I talked to Alan Gustafson, he said that's a bit concerning, and he felt like that left you guys with no room for error. What's it like for you in this position?
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in, and we're, trying to make the most of what we have going on. Obviously haven't been as fast as we'd like to be, and that just puts a lot of emphasis on the small things. And, when that's the case, what you see guys have, say, a pit road penalty or an issue throughout a race, and the guys who are winning can rebound from that very fast. But when we have a small issue like that, it's a big deal. The way things are right now. So we're just trying to eliminate as many mistakes as we can, because those mistakes can really hurt us more than more than you think. So just trying to work through that. But honestly, my guys, pit crew's been doing a good job. I feel like our road crew's been doing a good job. Alan's been making good calls, and all that stuff matters. And I feel like we haven't been as fast on track as we'd like to be, but I think having to put emphasis on some of these smaller things has made us better in those areas. So I think if we can get things turned around, hopefully sooner than later, then we'll be better off for that.
All right, earlier we were showing senior superlatives where all the racers were voting on other racers for, best dressed, whatever. Ryan Blaney, your friend, actually received a nomination for Biggest Nerd because of his love for Star Wars. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if he's the biggest nerd. I don't know who would. I feel like Brad or Logano would win that one more than him. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he does like Star Wars, but I don't think he's a nerd. Maybe a little bit, but not too bad.
See if he can, if he has a retort for that. By the way, Logano and Kozlowski definitely picked up the most votes in that.
I would assume, yeah.
Any questions for you that you have for Ryan Blaney, who's standing by with Marty?
Oh, is he standing by?
Yeah, he's with Marty Snyder.
He was just texting me, so we were about to play a game of MLB on PlayStation, and he said he was about to come over here, so apparently he's not coming over here. So I want to know over-under as to who think is going to win this game of MLB. That's who I want to know.
All right, that was simple. Over-under who's going to win the game of MLB from Chase just now.
What did he say?
He wants the over-under from you. Oh. You're setting the odds.
He beat me pretty bad last time, but I think I'll beat him by 2 runs. I'll just say 2 runs.
Okay, when you play MLB, which team are you?
Cleveland Indians.
Okay, and who's Chase? Atlanta Braves?
Yeah, he plays as the Braves.
Okay, I'll go with that. But what about the whole thing that you're a nerd because of the Star Wars thing? You feel maybe there's 2 categories in that category?
I feel like there's 2 categories of nerds. There's like nerds who like the comic book and that kind of movie stuff, and they could be deemed as nerds. And then you got like nerds. I don't like calling people nerds because I think that's a bad thing to say. It's just personality how people are. But nerds that are like, I could call Brad Keselowski a nerd because, have you seen his basketball video and stuff like that? That'd be kind of a nerdy thing to do. But I don't know. Yeah, well, Chase, I'm surprised he actually stuck up for me. That was really nice of him. I can't believe it, actually.
Well, that's very nice of one of your best friends. I will say I don't think a nerdy guy would go axe throwing, which you did this week. You ready for the zombie apocalypse or what?
I hope so. It's coming soon. The weather today is made that apparent. But I'll be ready to go. But yeah, Lumberjacks down in Charlotte was the name of that place, and we did our podcast from there. So that was a ton of fun. They were really helpful. We threw all types of axes, from hatchets like that you saw in the picture to big axes you had a double hand throw with, and that was really fun. So if you're ever in the Charlotte area, I suggest Lumberjacks to go and have some fun. Throw some axes, and they serve beer after you're done throwing axes.
Well, you would want beer while you're throwing an axe, right? The one good thing is you're currently leading the hair category because Eric Jones quit, and evidently we just saw Chase quit too. He got his hair cut this week as well. That's kind of gone under the radar.
Yeah, quitters. You can't trust them anymore, but no, I appreciate that. I haven't had to cut it off yet. We'll see how long it can go, but I figured I'd have it out for you in this rain delay and let the people know how the flow's going. So I appreciate that. Yeah, Eric Jones had a heck of a mullet going on, and I was envious of his, but now it's all gone.
And how long can you keep yours? That's the thing, because of the bosses don't like that too much.
We'll find out how long I can keep it. I don't really know. We're gonna find out. Hey, it's easy. You'll know when it's gone. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, you'll know when I show up and have no hair left. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about racing real quick. You said this place one of the toughest places for you. Why?
You know what? Just personally for me, I've always kind of struggled on I'm going to call this place a short track because you use a lot of brake here. You have to let the car free roll a lot, and you have to be really easy on the throttle. So all those characteristics to me are short track, and it's just I've always kind of struggled with brake pressure and crossing pedals and then being really easy on the throttle and climbing to it. I've always kind of been a mash the gas pedal kind of guy, and that helps at some places and it hurts me at other places. So just trying to get a little bit better at that. But I think we've made gains over the past handful of years here, coming here, and the Richmonds and Phoenixes and things like that. So hopefully we made a gain today. We have Menards back on with us, and Sylvania's on the hood. It's their first time with us this year on the hood, and hopefully we can have a good run for them whenever we get this thing started.
All right, speaking of long hair, I think Parker should grow out the hair. I think that would be a good look for him. Don't you agree?
I think he should. I'm going to not only grow out the hair, but grow it out. And then you should shave the sides and tops and from ears down, keep it. That'd be true mullet form back in the day. Look at that. He has the perfect hairline for it right now, and he could do it. No, just straight back, and then you just shave it off. But before we go, I want to give a shout out to Rick Johnson, one of our truck drivers. He was in an accident last week after Kentucky, and he's hurting a little bit right now, and I hope he's watching. I know he probably is on his couch, but just want to say we're thinking about him, wishing him the best, and can't wait to have you back soon.
We're thinking about Rick and Parker. Blaney wants you to get your hair cut. He's got very specific instructions on how to make it happen, okay?
I don't even know where to go with that because I can't really figure out what he was trying to say there, where I should go with my hair. Blaney's telling me I should do something weird with my hair. I don't know what it is, like cut it off or shave it down the center. I don't know. You got a pretty normal haircut.
Yeah, I'm not really good with style, so I'm just going to stay out of that conversation. Ryan's got cool down. You got cool down. I'm dad. I'm dad life.
And we got, it's Scarlett over here. She dressed herself, came out, wanted to join your interview.
We tried to explain to her why you shouldn't play in the rain. And so then I came out here, and now she's standing in the rain, and she thinks it's great. So she's standing right underneath the raindrops with a raincoat on.
She's fascinated by these drops. She just said it's raining, Dad.
Yep. And so the rain she doesn't want to look at the camera because she's shy.
Of course.
She'll do it for Mom and Dad, but not for you guys. So no offense, Parker.
And no offense taken. Well, you guys were also having a little fun. I think, weren't you building a fort up in there or something?
Yeah, at 3 years old, and trying to take care of a little one, nothing lasts very long. So, you do what you can during a rain delay. And we built a fort, which was good. We had a lot of fun with that, and that lasted for, maybe 30 seconds, and now we're out to stand in the rain and trying to kill some time until nap comes up. But I think I might take a nap, too, if it doesn't stop raining pretty soon.
Well, one thing I've seen you talk about a lot, and we were just talking about it with Blaney and Chase Elliott, is, you getting a little present here?
A little water cup here. Thank you. Did you catch that? You did? Okay. Go get some more, please.
Good job. She caught water in there. This is ingenuity. She can start selling it, make like a lemonade stand?
Yeah, we're working on some business skills right now. Right now, we're not making any money, but she's got a long time to go. Long time.
One thing they were talking about is gaming. You're a big gamer. You're not going to play some games right now? Anything that's you fancy these days on the gaming systems?
My gaming days kind of slowed down a little bit, but that's okay. I still have a lot of fun. We got so much going on. Trying to, this weekend was a double duty weekend, running the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, and trying to get a little better. We've been on the Cup level pretty good, but we haven't been great. So, that's been taking a lot of energy between family life and trying to get from good to great on the racetrack. And we're pushing as hard as we can. Believe me, we hate that you guys are talking about 3 guys every week, and we're not one of them. So we're trying to push hard, Parker, to find that next level and figure out where it could be.
And talking to crew chief Paul Wolf, we were talking about the strategies you guys pull, and you're really good at that. Do you feel like this race, this weekend, is one of those places you can pull one of those strategies that you kind of steal track position at times and are able to hold on to it? Can you do that here?
Yeah, this is definitely a track position sensitive racetrack where, you can try different things and make different things happen, and sometimes it works out, sometimes you get bit by it, but that's part of, playing the game. But, all in all, we want to just go out and win races by being the fastest car and dominating the weekend, and that's every team's goal. We've been really, really fast on the super speedways, and unfortunately haven't been able to convert that to anything. And we've been kind of in that 5th to 10th place range at most of the other tracks, other than Kentucky, which I thought we were a little bit better there than we've been on the mile and a half. So we'll keep pushing forward. We don't want to use the track position game, but when you don't have necessarily the speed you need to dominate a race, you can't just give up on it, and that's a great way to not give up on it.
Well, I'm going to let you be a dad here and maybe get Scarlett out of the rain a little bit. She's found a new spot to hang out and get dripped on a little bit there, Rick. So we're just going to help him be a dad and get Scarlett out of the rain now. She's having fun.
So you're saying that you have to get out of the rain. That's the smart thing to do. I actually pulled Eric out of playing with Alex and Abby. They were inside. And what games have you been playing with Alex and Abby?
Well, first it was Go Fish. Here they come.
Oh, yeah.
First it was Go Fish, then Candyland, then now we've been playing with Legos. What else have we played? We're waiting on Hungry Hippo. Hungry Hippo is coming out really soon when they're done with Legos, but we've had fun.
Can I ask permission? Abby, is it okay if I sit on your bike? Alex, I know that your dad's probably okay with you sitting on. Abby, is it okay if I sit on your bike? Okay, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Now, you actually are very avid as far as a bike rider. You get out on the bike at least daily, and how far do you go?
I don't know about daily, but 3 or 4 days a week I try to. Yeah. But not a bike like this, a bike like that back there, yeah. But yeah, I'll go out and ride 20, 30, 40 miles, something like that, depending on the day and what I got going on.
And is there a competition there? Because I know sometimes you guys go out, everybody that's in the bus lot, some of the drivers will go out and crew chiefs. You go out and ride. Is there a competition there? Do you guys try to push each other on the bikes?
It can be competitive. I typically ride by myself a lot so that I actually stick to somewhat of a training plan, because if you go out with a bunch of people, training goes right out the window, and it's just about how fast you can go.
All right, so you've made the switch over to Stewart-Haas Racing, and we'll focus a little bit more on what's happening here. But how has that transition gone? And you guys probably looking forward to getting out onto the track. I know that the successes have been plenty as Alex starts to eat some of the rainwater off of the side of the bus, which is perfect.
That's certainly the logical thing to do. We've gotten all the way down to licking windows and licking rainwater off the bus. No, it's been a great year, and I'm looking forward to this weekend just like I am every weekend. Every time we show up to the racetrack, you know, we show up, we've got a car that's got speed in it, and if Johnny and I get the balance close on the car throughout the weekend, and you know, we do a good job with the car and we execute on pit road, we're capable of running in the top 10, top 5, and a few times this year we've been in position to win races and had cars capable of doing it. Just haven't put it all together yet, but we're new, we're a new team, we're young, and I feel like we're off to a really good start, and we have so much more potential, and that's what has me really excited about the rest of the year and going back to some of these tracks for the second time, where we've got notes now. We can go back with somewhat of a foundation. So yeah, I think things are looking good.
Absolutely. Things are looking good for Eric and of course Abby and Alex, who were licking the bus earlier.
We're going to eat snacks.
We're going to have snacks now, and then Hungry Hippo is coming up next, Kelly.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't feel like Ryan Newman, who sadly doesn't have his family here, was playing Candyland inside of his bus for the last couple hours.
I just got done FaceTime, and they're actually at Kalahari for a wedding in Pocono. So I got done FaceTiming them and came outside to look at the radar that shows no rain, that is raining.
Right, exactly, which, well, we won't even go there. Hey, I like looking at the nuances of people's buses. You've got like a putting green here as a doormat. Are you a golfer?
Not at all. Not at all.
It just works well for your work boots?
Bus drivers just put stuff down every once in a while to kind of make you feel like it's at home. So I guess it's our grass.
All right. Let's talk about something relevant. You are a 3-time winner at this track, and everyone talks about how difficult it is to get a win here. How have you managed to do it 3 times?
Fast race cars, because I think we won the pole on a couple of them, and good pit stops, because at the time it was really only guaranteed 2 stops, maybe 3 if it was a stretch. So you only had to do it 2 or 3 times good, and you know, just one time I will say was in the rain, just like this. So you never know here, especially. But it is a challenging racetrack, and I think it's gotten a little bit more challenging as we've done different things to it, whether it's the PJ1 or moved the lanes around and made the cars more similar, things like that. But I've always liked it. It's been fun for me. It reminds me a lot of IRP back in Indiana, and the fact that you have defined straightaways and corners where you kind of get to do some slide jobs and things like that every once in a while.
All right, well, so are you feeling optimistic? How has the weekend been going for you?
It's been a challenge. I think we've been no better than 18th in practice. The guy said that they found some things on the computer that they think will help us for when we go back to racing. You know, just as we've seen here in the past, you can have a car that's just mediocre and get up front using some strategy and be able to hold a lot of guys off. So we'll see. I wouldn't say we're by the best car by any means. up to this point, but we'll see once the green flag drops.
Well, when you talk about strategy, you have a guy in Luke Lambert who's not afraid to call some interesting strategy to go for a win. What's it like being the guy that gets to race for someone who will think outside the box?
Well, there's a lot of guys that think outside the box now. I'm not saying that because Luke doesn't, but really so many people have gotten smart about strategy, and it changes your strategy because they've gotten smarter. So realistically, sometimes you got to go back to some of the other systems to do everything right. I mean, it's so competitive now. It's kind of crazy to talk about it. We said 10 years ago how competitive it was, and it's just so much more competitive than that now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because everyone's talking about the big three, but just to see so many guys racing so closely together when you look at speeds, when you look at what they can do on track, but certainly at an all-time high for you in your career?
Yeah, the competition is just so tight. I mean, we were 18th and, maybe 2, maybe 3 tenths off. And you look at how cars go through a run and you try to figure out if you're going to be a good long run car, if you have that same slope and things like that. But just overall, it's been very competitive. And it's been a tough year for our Chevrolets for sure. But I think this is a good track that we can get back on top of things.
Yeah, 3 wins, like I said. So you've got to have a little extra confidence coming here. They've got some room to make up to get into the playoffs, Krista. Probably going to need a win, but we know that this team's capable of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this weather here in New Hampshire, good for Ryan Newman in the sense that he got his first win here in a rain-shortened race. But they talked a lot about strategy there. DJ,
Yeah.
What do you think about once we go racing, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I think, and something that Ryan was kind of getting to, and we heard a couple of other drivers getting to too, that they didn't get all the way to saying that we've talked about how great stage racing is and how it's changed things. You can gather points in the race, but it's also changed some races the way that we went about. I noticed the road course at Sonoma, it totally changed the way that you go about that. I think it has here too, because as Ryan was pointing out there, used to be you made 2 pit stops, you got in whenever you knew you could finish that last pit stop, and that was it. Of course, everybody knew those strategies and started on that, but certainly having the stages now that you know that you have these cautions at these particular times, and then that just leaves that last stage to do what you can. So it's taken some of the strategy out of it. But if anybody's going to find a way to do it, Luke Lambert, his crew chief, will be glad to put Ryan in that situation. I've always said there's nobody better to race against or to take a car with no tires or 2 tires and get the most out of it than Ryan Newman. So very interesting things that we heard there. Funny to hear. I won't say funny. It's the way that the times are and have been for quite a while, but the guys found something on the computer that may help them. We used to think that, okay, we found a shock or something like that that may not have been working exactly right, or the left front was 1/8 of an inch high when they put it on the scales or something like that, just how the times have changed. But those interviews were great in that we kind of went from one end of the spectrum to the other, where Brad Keselowski had over 200 points above that cutoff line, and then Newman sitting there with a ways to go before he can get there. So we heard a lot of different drivers talk about the way that they're going to try to figure out a way to be inside that top 16 when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, we also heard that the Hungry Hippos game in the Almirola bus may have been replaced by
that was great.
Licking rainwater. We were just we saw Alex and he kept creeping in the background, and we're up here just laughing because he completely upstaged that interview. Sorry, Eric, but that was awesome to see all the family things going on there in the motorhome lot as we continue to wait out the weather. But you have been able to hear from a ton of drivers. By my count, we've interviewed 18 different drivers so far. I don't know if that's accurate. We'll get someone on that. But when we come back, we will discuss the historical perspective of what's happening in NASCAR right now, courtesy of the Big Three. Rain continues to fall at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire. You see the Air Titans, the jet drivers, trying to do their job, but it's going to be tough work as the rain continues to fall. When they do go racing, no question, the drivers everyone is talking about, the Big Three.
You're the only one of the Big Three that survived tonight. Does that give the younger NASCAR generation some momentum?
Yeah, for this week.
One of those 3 are going to win next week.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah!
Class.
You did it, KB.
Remains in session.
Those guys are just really smart in knowing what they need in the race car and how to get that out of their team.
Wheel that thing, brother!
That's how you see them be so competitive every week.
He breaks out the whooping stick and demolishes this field.
Can't drive a slow car fast, man. Ever since I was a kid, I dreamt of this.
Absolute dominating performance.
More Martin Truex, victory lane, baby.
All three of us have great teams. It's pretty amazing to be part of this group.
If you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch.
Yeah, boys! That's why we do it. We're back, baby!
No question, the top storyline of 2018, the sheer dominance of Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch. While most NASCAR fans love side-by-side racing and last lap passes, what we are witnessing in 2018 from these three drivers is truly unique. Nate Ryan looks back at other dominant performances and how they have left a stamp on NASCAR's history.
In praise of perfection, in NASCAR, too often racing greatness doesn't get its proper due. Credit can come too sparingly when it seems success came too easily.
Jeff Burton has dominated this field.
Nearly 18 years ago at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Jeff Burton achieved perfection by leading all 300 laps in one of the greatest tricks ever pulled at the Magic Mile.
Before I do anything else, I want to touch you because nobody else has been able to do it all day long.
Was it really a walkover, though? A so-called blowout? It might apply in other sports, where head-to-head competition produces lopsided scores. But the blowout is a misnomer in racing, where there is always one winner and a few dozen losers. Ned Jarrett won the 1965 Southern 500 by 14 laps, the largest margin of victory in a cup race. But largely forgotten is he still led 137 fewer laps than the third-place finisher. Few were in Richard Petty's class when he won 7 straight at Richmond in the early 70s. Rarely more so than the race in which he started from the rear and still won by a lap despite having a restrictor plate on his engine. In 2018, it's been the big three. Martin Truex Jr. sweeping every stage at Kentucky Speedway.
Another dominant performance.
Kevin Harvick crushing it on Dover's concrete.
For the 41st time in his career, Kevin Harvick is a winner.
And Kyle Busch being close to flawless in the season's longest race.
From beginning to end, it's been the Kyle Busch show.
But somehow leading more than 90% of the Coca-Cola 600 doesn't inspire the same awe as a slam-bang finish.
He's wrecking him, you see it, man, they're both in the wall.
Kyle Busch will win!
So how can we appreciate such greatness? It's far from just a driver being precise with every turn of the wheel. It's a crew chief being on top of every strategy call.
Oh, a couple more here, we're in good shape.
And correctly timed adjustment. It's a pit crew nailing every stop without leaving a lug nut loose. It's everything going right when there are thousands of violently moving parts and pieces that can go wrong in a split second.
You had a damn light show there.
In praise of perfection, sometimes it's okay to give dominance its due.
And DJ, to put this in historical perspective, it was 44 years ago since three drivers have crushed it like this. 1974 with the King, Cale Yarborough, and David Pearson. They had 18 wins. Where does this rank, what we are seeing? And like you said with Jimmy Johnson, sometimes if you're living history or you can't appreciate it, how can we appreciate and respect what we are seeing these three drivers do?
Yeah, and just think about all the tremendous drivers, Hall of Fame drivers that we've seen come since that period of time that you've talked about. It's just amazing. And then you think about, we talk about how dominant they've been, and then last Saturday night, one of those drivers goes to Kentucky and wins every stage and wins the race. So how does he beat the other two that we're talking about that badly on that particular night? It just shows that how tough this is. We've heard every driver talk about how difficult, how competitive things are, but these drivers now, you see it in other sports, and we talk about it, and Nate was talking about that, but you have special athletes and special competitors that do really tremendous things. And when you pair them up, when their teams are on top of their games and you put them together, then we're going to get numbers like this. It's just incredible to watch. But when we talk about how competitive it is, and we know that it is, to watch these three drivers go out and perform on this basis and do it weekly and be able to outdistance their competition this way. It's just amazing. I don't have the answer as to why, except they're extremely talented.
Well, and it's not just the drivers who are like, you heard Martin Truex and Kyle Busch, I think, saying in an interview we aired earlier that when one wins or one does something, they want to top the other one. It's crew chiefs doing the same thing, those 3 crew chiefs, the tire changers, everybody involved in those teams trying to step up their game just to keep ahead of the other 2.
Yeah, and you think about it, they're all within organizations and around organizations, except for maybe Truex, and he's part of that organization, part of that Joe Gibbs thing, and the Toyota, I'll look at it. So they have other talented drivers and team members and pit crews and crew chiefs. So why aren't they winning? I think that we have to really appreciate the talent that we're seeing from these drivers. And, we talk about the younger guys that are trying to come along and get some wins, and they're making their life very, very difficult for these drivers trying to get that first victory because these drivers are so outstanding. Kevin Harvick, we've known he's been tremendous for a lot of years, but now we're being able to see, as he's paired with Rodney Childers, they're getting the job done there. Martin Truex Jr. is someone that we've known for a long time. Whenever he first won, we thought that was going to be something that was going to propel him to 30 wins in a quick fashion. And Kyle Busch has been someone that has been one of the most talented drivers to ever come through NASCAR before. So now they have all of that going, and we're the beneficiaries getting to watch them go after each other week in and week out. And as you pointed out, that the crew chiefs get involved in it, the car owners are there with that too. The pit crews trying to do their job. It's just amazing to watch this competition between them.
Okay, so now I have to ask you, after saying all of that, are they in your fantasy lineup for today?
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I might not look very smart and might not be very smart, but I certainly don't leave them out very many weeks.
So taking a look at fantasy picks too, we're talking about our NASCAR America Fantasy League. I know everyone at home making their picks, and you can change it. You can go in the garage, change your lineups up through stage 2. Don't forget, if you need some last-minute advice on who to start today for New Hampshire, get race previews, driver updates, and more at rotoworld.com/NASCAR. Track drying continuing here at New Hampshire. When we come back, we will check in with the guys in the booth, Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's NBC Race Team Takeover. I wonder if
Looks like they're uptight.
I know. Has he switched into the second T-shirt yet?
Oh, let's see.
Don't reveal it yet, Dale.
Not yet, I don't think.
Well, still waiting out the weather here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The track has been trying to dry, but these showers keep coming in. Up here, hanging out in the booth, the race team broadcast, guys. Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, myself are going to call the race from up here. A new perspective, 2 drivers and a crew chief. And Dale, I'm going to give the fans credit for our attire, our casual attire, but you get a little bit because I think you kind of egged them on for the T-shirt and the jeans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this happened because I was so like mentally ready to be wearing ties and sports coats. I bought a lot of new sports coats and ties this year because of this new job I got. But I'm hoping that, this is received so well. Obviously, the fans wanted it, but hopefully it's received by our bosses. And because I got a lot of these too, so I'd be loving to wear more of them the rest of the year.
So your wardrobe prepared for the T-shirt?
Yes.
Okay.
I really don't want to have to go buy a bunch of T-shirts, so I'm hoping for something in between, like
that was what was so funny to me.
Casual thing that I think that would be easier for.
Is that when all this came together, I'm like, yeah, I got all, and y'all don't have any T-shirts.
No.
Well, I have T-shirts. I just don't have a closet full of vintage T-shirts. The other guy that I'm sure isn't very appreciative of this whole process is Rick.
Yeah.
Because nowhere was there an opportunity for people to vote for what Rick is going to wear on pit road.
That's true.
Because we took the booth over and he's down there in the rain with rubber boots on and an umbrella.
Rain gear would have been perfect.
That was not
rain gear
allowed to vote on.
Well, we're fortunate enough. Kyle Larson decided. Kyle, first, thanks for coming on. It's been a little bit of exciting rainfall. You got a lot to kind of stack up to because Clint Boyer basically took the show over. So we're hoping this interview goes a little bit more straightforward than that.
That's right.
All right, sounds good. What you guys got going on up there?
Man, we are talking racing, talking New Hampshire. Let's talk about this track. I watched that Eldora coverage. You talked about your dirt background and how you thought it was going to help you at this crazy, tricky 1-mile flat track. Explain that. Why do you think that helps you at a paved 1-mile track?
Well, since they put the VHT compound down, throughout 300 laps, it changes quite a bit. It's always losing grip or gaining grip in areas your line adjusts throughout the race. So I think having a dirt background and being able to know when to search and how to search for different lines and different grips throughout the racetrack really helps me. I think you saw that with Bell winning yesterday. I think this place has turned into
help the dirt guys out a little bit, where before I felt like, this was a track that wouldn't really fit my driving style because it's so one lane and hard on the brakes and stuff like that. But now that we've got different options, it helps me out quite a bit.
Talk about a dirt background, and I know you love to race as much as you can. You just came from Lernerville winning earlier there this week. How many races are you going to run this year?
Well, let's see. In total, I think last year between Xfinity, Cup, Sprint Cars, Midgets, I ran like 70. I would say this year would be around there, maybe a couple less, because I'm running less Xfinity races, but somewhere in the mid-60s to 70s. So I just enjoy it. This is a fun time of year for me throughout the summer months. I'm racing a Sprint Car or Midget every week, once or twice a week. So got a couple of weeks off here before I get back in the Sprint Car in Iowa. But yeah, it's been fun. We've been running good in the Cup car, running good in the Sprint car. So it's always good when you run up front.
And Lernerville was your first World of Outlaw feature win?
First Outlaw win this year. I think I've only won 6 in my career, but I honestly don't get to race a whole lot of Outlaw stuff since 2013, I think.
Well, it's crazy impressive that you can go back and get in a World Outlaw car and win a race. I mean, it's so difficult to win those races. They're obviously difficult to drive. And the conversation got started this past week. Tony Stewart started a conversation about wanting a Cup race on dirt, and I thought it was interesting that you came out and said, Cup cars didn't belong on dirt with your dirt background. Tell us why you feel that way.
Well, I mean, I would be happy, I guess, to have a dirt race on the Cup schedule, because I feel like I'd be the favorite and I would run really good and all that, and I would expect myself to finish up front. So I mean, in that sort of way, I would liked it, but to me, I don't know. I think just having the dirt, the truck race at Eldora is good. I think if you sometimes give people too much, then it starts to lose its prestige and all that. And there'd only be one dirt race on Cup, but I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like Cup racing to me belongs on pavement. I don't really, I'm nervous of what Roger Slack and Tony are going to say to me, but I don't know. That's just the way I feel. Like I said, I'm going to show up to Eldora or wherever a dirt race would be with the Cup schedule, but I love dirt racing, I love pavement racing, and to me, I think Cup belongs on pavement.
Well, if they're going to complain to you, they have to complain to me as well, because I feel the same way.
Kyle, so I've been, we follow each other on social media. One handle that I've been seeing a little bit here lately is Kyle Larson Racing. Can you explain to us, what Kyle Larson Racing is? What's your vision for Kyle Larson Racing, who your drivers are, where you guys are racing at?
Yeah, so I've fielded a World of Outlaws team since 2014. With Justin Marks as the co-owner with him for however long now. And then this year's been the first year where I've been the sole owner. Justin's still a part of it on the sponsor side of things, but it's been a lot of fun. Shane Stewart's my driver. We got some great partners, Brandt, Ineos, DC Solar, Chevy. Everybody who helps out is a big part of that. They have a long, tough season, 90 races, traveling all across the United States from about, before our season starts. So they start Volusia before the 500, the week before, and then they go till, every week until I think the beginning of November for World Finals. So it's a tough schedule. Our guys been struggling a little bit. It's been a tough season, but they finally got their first win at Eldora last week on Thursday night. So that was sweet to get my first win as a team owner. So yeah, hopefully there's plenty more wins in the future.
All right, I'm gonna put the pressure on you. We know how involved your parents were in getting you into racing. So the question is, how about Owen? Does he have a race car yet? We see him with the battery cars. Is Owen any plans to get him on the racetrack yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's no plans yet. He's only 3.5, but as much as he's around racing and, obviously my background, his Uncle Brad Sweet races for Casey Kane and the sprint car stuff. So he's around it, all the time. So I would assume that he's going to get the chance to try it. He doesn't really, he's, 3.5, he still doesn't really, he hasn't figured out how to drive a battery-powered car. It's kind of odd. He likes his quad and his bicycle stuff, and some days he's a daredevil, some days he's kind of a wussy. So I don't know. I don't know what he's. I don't know if he's gonna have. Yeah, I don't know if he's got the courage to even do it. But his good buddy Cash is really good at driving his battery-powered car. So I think Cash will be able to teach him how to drive around, and maybe he'll get into the racing stuff.
So a word of advice from a guy who's been a parent for a long time: a Boyer may not be the person that you won't be an influence on your child. Just think about that.
Yeah, that's true, but that's why hopefully we got Cash to lean on instead of Clint.
Hey, man, listen, thanks for coming out and talking to us. I want to thank you for this interview, but perhaps more than that, every race. I mean, every time from up here in the booth, we cover what you do on the racetrack. You're the guy not just following a line, searching the top, searching the bottom, always making it exciting for the fans.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we also appreciate what you guys do, and you're always happy to see this part of the season.
All right, thanks, Kyle Larson. I mean, tough on the poor kid.
He is. Hey, gotta start early, man. Gotta have high expectations. I like it.
Hammond, close your eyes. Oh,
it's here. The lobster.
Well, maybe not 2 p.m. I like the graphic, but I wish
the optimism.
The
optimism was high.
But you see right here, Air Titans on the racetrack, blowing the water off, trying again to dry this 1 mile. It's a small track. If we could ever get some break in the showers, I think we could get the place dry, get the cars on track. But we've talked how difficult this racetrack is. What are the keys to it, guys?
Well, I got an idea. We have a Hall of Famer that's part of our group. Why don't we ask him to come in? We'll kick the crew chief out of here.
Oh, I'm out.
There's only room for 3, buddy.
Have a driver come in and talk about it.
I don't take it personal. I'll leave.
Hey, I saw you carrying the snack tray around there a while ago over to the NASCAR fish, so I thought I'd just give you time to go get some lunch. How about
that? Not my first
rain
rain delay. Y'all have it.
Were you surprised he was carrying a snack tray around?
No, I was not surprised, but I think I saw him when he was a crew chief taking snacks over to the NASCAR truck too. I think that had a different reason behind it, though.
I'm feeling awkward. The box that I'm standing on makes me taller than you. That's not right.
I guess I'm shrinking a little bit in my old age.
So you all morning, all day, you've been on the pre-race show. Interviewed a lot of drivers. What are you taking from all that? Who do you feel has confidence?
You know, one thing I was going to tell Krista this, that when we showed those superlatives that everybody knew that Clint Boyer was the class clown, almost 100% that he was that, but 100% of the drivers we interviewed talked about how difficult this racetrack is. And so I want to get your perspective. You're the master of this place. I haven't really ever heard you talk about what made you so good here. You know, we were fortunate, both of us, to have some good runs here, but maybe it's something that you just want to keep for Harrison. I don't know. They finished second yesterday, but if you'll let some other people know, I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Well, that was a long time ago, unfortunately, but and we talked about it yesterday. The thing that I always did was I just overdrove the corner. Like I just would, just way overdrive the entry of the corner because the corner's so long, the apex is so far around. Unless you run completely out of the groove, you make up time by actually carrying too much speed. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how you drove these cars. And then if you could just make rear grip and get off the corner, you were in good shape. So it's a lot harder today because people have gotten so much smarter at getting their cars to handle all the way around the racetrack, just not in a few parts of it.
The flashback that we saw was a race where we ran plates.
Yes.
This race was real interesting to me. I spun Bill Elliott out on the front straightaway, probably one of the dumbest things I've ever done here. But so I was really.
So you have a Bill Elliott throwback shirt for the day to say sorry?
Well, I do have one in my closet.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, with that race, I remember it being so hard to get any kind of position on a guy, and you led 300 laps, so nobody was going to get any position on you. You led every single lap of the race, but I remember that race being so difficult trying to get runs on people. But the track hasn't changed that much though over the years. They did make some configuration changes to the bottom groove, but really you still fight the same things in the middle of the corner. I was the same as you, Jeff. I would just drive the car as far into the corner as I could. If I could not do that, we worked on it because I knew I needed to drive to the center of the corner as hard as I could to have any kind of ability to get the car to turn, rotate, and come off the corner. If I had to back the corner up because of the balance being loose in or anything like that, the whole corner was junk.
Yeah.
So there was, for me too, there was only one way to drive it.
Yeah, I scared myself a lot. I don't know if it was overdriving or overdriving my abilities. I'm not sure, but that was the hard thing about it. And did it continue, because both of you guys drove a lot longer than I did, but did it continue that restarts were so hard and cars were just out of control on the restarts, because for so many years you had to have your car so free to make it better on the longer run that it was just out of control.
Before they used the PJ1 in the bottom groove, which we saw Ryan Preece use that a lot yesterday in Xfinity Series to some really great results. He made those restarts so fun to watch. Before that was there, the inside line was the worst place to be lined up. And we would always have late yellows here in the last 50 laps that would, you know, sort of really have an influence on your track position and giving you opportunities to either have a terrible day or maybe get a few extra spots that you weren't going to get, you know, under green flag. So if you got in the outside line, you had a chance of gaining 3 or 4 spots on just one restart. And if you're on the inside, you're probably going to lose a few spots if you didn't do something really miraculous. So, but that's changed now. Now with the PJ1 on that bottom groove, we saw it yesterday. I think a lot of guys learned something yesterday about the ability of that stuff on the, and we may see some things today in today's race that you know, that these drivers trying to do things that they didn't even know was possible. Ryan Preece showed us all a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think this rain matters a lot, not just because this is being delayed, but how does it affect the PJ1 and what groove's going to be good, and the jet dryers on the track. I think that's going to change the game also. And will it wear off quicker, or what groove's going to be the best? And we won't know, but more importantly, the drivers won't know until they get to turn 1 after they drop the green flag. And those restarts are so big that I just don't know how they have confidence just to sail down in the corner with no heat, cloudy conditions on that material. We've heard so many times that it takes a certain amount of heat to get it to fire off.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. I just don't know how you just sail down in there, but they find a way. I mean, these drivers are so good at adapting and making changes in milliseconds. They'll find a way, but it as always, restarts here are just huge.
Yeah, and watching and listening to you guys yesterday and watching that race, the thing that got me is that whenever I drove here, it was difficult. The entry, turn 3, one of the most difficult entries that you have anywhere at any racetrack. But as you said, you had to attack it, and if you overdrove it a little bit, you got on the brakes, you had to get back off of them and just try to manage your car through there. But that was going in on the bottom. As I watched that race yesterday, I would find myself actually drawing up, just sitting there watching and listening to you guys as these guys had to go in because of that PJ1 being in that what we'll call the 3rd lane up there, that was a fast way around. So your margin for error to me is even much smaller than what it used to be, because you slide out of that and then you're totally out of control or crashing.
Yeah, right outside of the 3rd groove, there's nothing. There's no grip. And so to run the best lap you can, the best lap time you can, you've got to drive in all the way right to the edge of that and then roll the center. And so and there are those bumps going down into turn 3. There's some that are actually really deep into the corner beyond the initial braking zone. And if your car starts to get upset there, you're definitely going to end up out of that 3rd groove, and that's going to cost you positions. So, but you have to push that to the limit every time you go into that corner.
I think a very unique thing about that corner also is brake lockup.
Yeah.
So, you know, you think about Martinsville, a place where you lock the left front brake up. Richmond getting into 3, lock the left front brake up. Road courses. But for some reason, since the day this racetrack was built, getting into turn 3, it's not uncommon. Every weekend, every time we come here to see someone in practice or in the race lock the left front tire up and get completely out of the groove. But to your point, you know, out of the groove prior to PJ1 was just you went to the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah.
Well, now out of the groove is in the wall because there's just no time to recover. And I think that in some ways that PJ1's made it easier, but in other ways it's made it much more difficult.
Yeah, and the PJ1's made it faster, all right? So, they're running about a second quicker maybe at this track with the PJ1. So when you're out of the groove, out of that grip, into the slick, there's even less margin for error, ability to really keep the car out of the fence.
Yeah, so we saw yesterday, we had the ability to watch the modified race, and which will be, I think, shown later, and it was a great race. And then the Xfinity race, a lot of slide jobs. As a driver, how many times do you give a driver that slide job before you say, I've had enough, that's not happening anymore?
So you and I came up in a little different era where somebody did that, you would just hit them. Like,
would you dump them, spin them out?
Well, no, but
just run back into them.
Hit them hard.
It's that's a new thing. Like really in this series, asphalt cup racing, the first time that I really started seeing it become normal was at Bristol with the PJ1 when the outside became the predominant lane. And the only way to pass was to just drive in the corner and slide job somebody. That's where I started to see it become normal. And now we're starting to see more dirt guys come into the series. They're pushing that envelope and trying to find a way to make it work. And now I think the etiquette of the slide job is starting to be defined. Like, what is a slide job and what is just blocking me? Tony Stewart, right? He would wreck you if you block. If you blocked him, he would just wreck you, and he would tell you. So if you drive in way too far and go up to the wall and just stop to keep from hitting the wall, well, in my book, that's blocking me. And I think, although Tony's a dirt racer, it'd be hard to argue that it's not blocking. So I think that etiquette's going to be defined. The harder it gets to pass and the more we have racetracks where that top groove is the best groove.
Yeah, I think there's a racetrack where you see guys lean on each other and use each other up. Every time we'd have a restart, TJ, my spotter, would say, take what you need. And that was really just use the track. Heck with those guys. Do whatever you need to do to protect your position or gain positions. And so people understand how hard it is to pass here. People are going to expect to be used up, but they're also going to use you up when they can. That's just sort of a fact of life, fact of racing at this racetrack. And so I like to go to places like here in Martinsville where you can put donuts down the side of your car and you get out and you ain't got nobody upset with you. That's just the way you race here. So guys are going to get into each other a little bit, use each other up on them cautions, on them restarts, and that's kind of acceptable behavior.
Isn't it amazing, though, when you think about late race cautions and things and how you think how hard everybody's driving for the first 250 laps of this race, and then you get inside that last 50 laps, that the intensity goes up and the things and the abilities and how all of that comes, and what great race. When you look back on it, it's great race. At the time, it might make you a little bit mad as what people are doing, but just the level goes up so much more.
I'm always fascinated how when the drivers, and I think these modern drivers even more so, when the moment comes that they have to step up, they find a way. And they think they're giving 100%, and somehow these guys, we watch it every Sunday and Saturday night, they find a way in those moments to get more. And that's what's awesome to watch it, is how they just find it. Well, this point system has changed the game. I always thought as a driver, I'm giving all I can, but then when you lay something out there as a reward, all of a sudden now I'm starting to get more, and that's what's cool about what we're watching today.
Absolutely. I mean, the playoff points have really changed the way people look at the season, look at the regular season, the way they look at the stages. It's become so important to be able to get as many playoff points as you can, because we saw last year with Truex how that helped him get all the way to Homestead. I mean, he really had pretty much a pretty nicely paved route all the way into the championship. He still had to win that race to win a championship, but to get there was a lot easier for him. So you're seeing the rest of the field start to see how important those playoff points are. Guys are stepping up. We're seeing some of the best racing. I mean, I've only been in the booth 3 weeks, but we have seen some great racing in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. And I don't know if it's just the view that I've got. This is the way it's always been, but I can't wait to see, what we have today and the rest of the season.
So you and I should have known. We ran the first Xfinity race here. We should have known right there this track was going to be tough. It hadn't changed one bit. But Krista is missing you. So you got to go back over there
this week. So somebody's got to keep her company over there.
She's over there waving at us. Come back. He's coming. He'll be there in just a minute.
Heavy rain in the east delaying today's NASCAR race in New Hampshire as track drying continues. Means drivers like Kyle Busch got some extra time with their family. We know at least 4 inches plus has fallen in the D.C. area. Well, it's in New Hampshire, too. There's NASCAR's Mike Helton down there surveying the track during the heaviest rainfall. Today is also takeover day. It's a crew chief and 2 drivers in the broadcast booth. We can't wait for that, but that also means Rick Allen is getting a rookie stripe as a pit reporter from pole sitter Kurt Busch. And we've seen some interviews. I don't know if you would say insightful when Clint Boyer's involved. Shenanigans was a word that was used to describe it. Eric Almirola's kids, Alex and Abby, stole the show as Rick and Eric sat on little bicycles. And speaking of sitting on strange chairs, well, that's what Rutledge Wood does when he interviews drivers in uncomfortable situations.
It's always something awkward.
Saddle up.
I'm about to.
Do you know what you're sitting on?
No.
It's a beehive.
Hey, let's make him sit on a horse.
I wanted to make sure you were comfortable, so I just gave you a Swedish chair. Just want to get comfy here.
My chair doesn't do that.
You're not married, right?
I'm not married.
You've got to buy one of these while you can, brother.
Why do you get the comfy chair and I get this thing,
What are you talking about?
It's terrible. Things aren't as simple as this saddle.
A man and some leather. 7? Is that right? 7 time?
Yeah.
Did you make a specific list for me, or is this just random questions?
None of these are random. Is there a movie that every time you watch it makes you cry?
Cry?
Yeah. Just want you to know you're in a safe space here, okay? It's cool to be honest.
No. I've come close.
Come close?
Yeah. I'm a sensitive guy.
I feel like everybody's cried at a movie at some point.
You would think that.
You know?
A lot of these dudes are too tough to be honest.
Can't say that I've ever shed a tear in a movie.
No.
I fake cried once for Whitney in a movie. Like, 'cause I was like, I had to like fake cry because it was like.
Because you felt like if she doesn't feel that I'm a little bit emotional she's gonna think I'm just ice cold.
Right. If in a movie a dog dies, I can't help it. Even in John Wick, when they kill the puppy, like, done.
Marley and Me made me get choked up. I mean, I'm a big dog guy.
Right? Come
Love
on.
dogs. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard movie to watch.
Apparently, no one in the garage has watched Marley and Me, or they're all liars.
I think they're all liars. You've seen it, right?
Of course.
And you got
How could
choked
you
up,
not?
didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
You ever cried at a movie?
Oh, yeah. 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 The King of Lion, remember that?
The Lion King?
The Lion King. Yeah, I say it backwards. Yeah, when the guy lost his dad and then goes, I used to cry when I was a kid in that spot of the movie.
Yeah.
The thing about Disney movies is one of the parents always dies.
Always?
Like the parents are always dead.
My wife's big into Disney movies, and I'm trying to think of...
They can be some sleepers.
Yeah, I mean,
Seems
Beauty
like
and
a
the
kid's
Beast,
movie.
man.
How old's your daughter?
2.5.
Okay, so you know it's coming when she's going to ask you to watch like some kids movies with her.
Oh, I already do.
And you get totally suckered in and don't realize suddenly you're gently weeping.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Right?
Yeah, all the time.
'Cause there's so many
What's
like
even
that.
worse than that is when she walks out of the room and you're still watching.
Because you're like, I got to see what happens.
Yeah, you're like, hold on. I want to see how Moana gets off the island.
You ever seen The Notebook?
No.
What are you so afraid of?
I'm very proud to say that I've never seen The Notebook.
I will tell you right now, once you do,
Tearjerker.
waterworks. You ever seen The Notebook?
I have.
And you didn't cry at that?
No.
What do you want?
Who's in The Notebook? Man, I really fight back. I mean, the moment I feel like I'm connecting and getting emotional, I'm just like, I just think of something that makes me mad.
So that means you haven't seen The Notebook?
I've seen The Notebook, but that stuff doesn't make me cry.
Man, it's dark in there, isn't it? Have you seen The Notebook and don't cry?
I was a little pissed off at the girl in Notebook.
I mean, he rebuilt that whole house.
For her.
What movie has made you cry?
The Notebook? I gotta clap. Did that make you cry?
All damn day I have asked people.
Notebook's solid.
Dude, all these dudes try to say they've never cried in a movie.
I mean,
so most
listen,
of them are liars.
If you've ever seen a Victory Lane speech of me, you know that I cry.
I can't, oh, I'm gonna cry. I thought if I made it without seeing my dad or my wife, I'd be okay, but...
Last one I truly cried in the theater was Forrest Gump. When, his mom passed away and...
Look at you. You're over here so busy trying to hide that heart, and it's right there. You just have to ask.
I just feel like you can't see that enough because now I'm crying out of laughter when he says to Denny, it's dark in there.
Yes.
It just always cracks me
Only
up.
Rutt
I know.
can get these drivers to come out like this. It's unbelievable. Amazing. Funny stuff.
Yeah, it was. And we've had a lot of funny stuff as we continue to bring you driver interviews from down in the garage area and the motorhome lot here at New Hampshire. Track drying continuing, lighting up. So we're hoping to go racing this afternoon.
Can only hope, but afraid there might be a little more. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we can get these. I want to. How does Rutt always get the best seat?
The best seat,
Whether it's
I know.
the best chair, the car he was in earlier today. That's a pretty good seat there.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, Rutledge got behind the wheel of a Pagani, which is like, what, how many millions of dollars? It cost us only
Millions,
100, yeah, millions a car, and only 100 made, and 2 of them were here.
Yes.
And Rutledge, the
Managed to
owners
get and
let
drive
Rutledge
one.
drive
Yeah.
it. So that happened just a little while. Yeah, here he is. This is so he gets in, and we thought, okay, that's cool, but he's a little rain soaked. I thought I wouldn't really let him in there because he's going to mess it up. But then he actually drove it.
He did.
And have we seen him since?
No, we haven't really, I don't think. But
okay.
I saw the gate was locked down at the end where he was going, but as we know, Rut, he can work his way out of a situation pretty quickly. And I mean, he worked his way into that.
Yeah,
While he was doing work, he had found time to go get to the owner and convince him that he needed to drive this vehicle.
Yep, and we haven't seen or heard from him since. So we'll try to get an update on Rutledge. And when we come back, DJ recently sat down with 7-time Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time champion. The two go driver to driver next here in New Hampshire.
White flag is out for Dale Jarrett. A late restart. Jarrett gets by his teammate and scores what will be his 4th win of the season. Dale Jarrett takes the New England 300, his first win here at New Hampshire International Speedway.
And that happened right here on this day 17 years ago.
Wow.
DJ, what do you remember?
A long time ago. As I said, I passed Ricky Rudd, my teammate, late in the race on a restart, and happened to find Jeff Burton on an off day, one of the few off days that he may have had here. I don't know, I'm sure he was somewhere inside the top 5, but a special day because this is a very, very difficult racetrack, and I felt fortunate to. We didn't have lobsters back then, but got a nice trophy.
Well, Jimmy Johnson has won here 3 times, and despite subpar results this season, he's really in the worst season, you could arguably say, of his career. And when the bar is set so high with the success that they have had, what do you do? Well, that's just one of the topics he and DJ discussed driver to driver.
Jimmy Johnson gains the 2nd victory of his rookie year.
A lot has changed since you started your career in the Cup Series. So many things that could take your focus away, but is it still about competition and driving a race car?
It is, and I can honestly say I spend more time now than I did my rookie year focusing on my job. And I think that the support I have from my wife, and my kids are 7 and 4, to have them watch me be passionate about something has another meaning that I didn't anticipate and see coming. So I'm loving what I'm doing. I wish the results were a little better than what we have right now, but the process of what I'm going through is really a lot of fun.
You won races and championships at a rate really only a very few people are familiar with.
Make room, Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ.
Did you ever think that winning came a little too easy at times?
No, I really don't feel that I ever took it for granted, and it's largely because of my upbringing. I had some success on dirt bikes when I was a kid, but when I moved into cars, I was very familiar with getting beat. I was very familiar with making mistakes. That process humbled me. Even as all those amazing years were happening in the 5 in a row, I couldn't believe it was happening, and I could still always remember where I came from.
Jimmy Johnson is sideways, and everybody tries to get on the binder.
Hang on, baby, hang on.
It's been a long time since we have seen Jimmy Johnson in victory lane. This is the longest he has gone without a win in his career.
So hang the helmet up. You're a young man still. It's hard to know exactly when that time is.
It is, and I've asked you questions before. The thing I can pull out of it is, don't pick a number, make sure that fire's gone out, and that fire hasn't gone out. And then the other thing that's weighing on me, I don't want to go out not at my fullest potential and not on my terms. The last thought that's going to run through my mind is to walk away or, oh, it's not going right, time to stop. I know I still got it. I'm going to go down swinging. I've got a lot to prove still. I know Rick has an open door policy for me to drive as long as I want, and I'll just have to sit down with my girls and decide. We have some plans and goals as a family that we want to achieve. I also have some other competitive goals that I want to accomplish, from the 24 Hours of Le Mans back to check out some off-road trucks. I haven't done that in a long time. You know, there's some different cycling and triathlon-related events that I want to do too before I get too old.
And an 8th championship, right?
At least 8.
You heard him say at least 8. Jimmy Johnson starts 21st today, and he is live with Parker.
Right, Krista. He said at least 8, and his nickname was Superman, and I'm starting to believe you have special powers because you came out of your bus and it literally stopped raining and the jet drives are out there. Is it something you have going on there, special power-wise?
I'm going to accept it. I'm going to take that. So, yes, and it should all disappear, and let's go racing.
And what does a 7-time champion do in his bus during a rain delay like this?
Just like anybody else here, you sit around and eat way too much and watch television. So I've just been hanging, waiting for the rain to stop. It looks like we've got a hole on the radar. At least one of my 2 apps says that there's a hole or an opportunity. So just waiting. Hopefully we can get on track today and get this racing.
And let's talk about racing this season. It's been a bit of a struggle, right? Longest winless streak you're in the midst of right now. You talk about, though, and you said this to me a couple months ago, how it's fun, the process you're in. Why is it fun? Why is it fun trying to get back to victory lane?
At times it's certainly not fun. It's a struggle. It's tough. A lot of frustrating moments. But along the way, you really find out what you're made of and what your team's made of. And there are a lot of small victories that we're experiencing right now, and a lot of great energy that comes from that. But we're going to continue to work hard, and we will get this fixed, and we'll get back on top where we want to be. And it'll be a lot more fun then reflecting back. But right now, there are many sad moments along the way, throughout the course of a weekend. But we're leaving smiling more often now than we were a few months ago. So we'll keep digging, working hard, and just a huge thank you to everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for their continued commitment. Everybody at Lowe's and the long-term relationship we've had with them, Chevrolet, and we'll just keep after it.
Is this the hardest it's ever been in the Cup Series? Do you feel the furthest away from winning at this point?
For my Cup Series, yes, but in my career in racing, no. And I think in that piece I spoke about how many years I spent not winning, and a lot of people only know me as the guy that's been winning in the Cup Series, but I had to fight for everything I earned along the way, from my dirt bike days up through off-road, buggies, trucks, and then into stock car racing. So I've been here before, but this has definitely been my toughest year in the Cup Series.
Do you think that drives you a little bit as a young driver who kind of idolized you for many years myself? You've really raised the bar of fitness and that sort of thing. I've started cycling because I thought you were cool doing it. I don't know. But I'm just saying, do you feel like those sorts of struggles have really driven you?
They really have, and when I had a chance to reflect back after my opportunity starting at Hendrick Motorsports, I looked back on those years of not winning and knew that it made me who I was, and why I appreciated the success that I had, and had, I feel, a more mature point of view when I started in Cup and was ready for the crazy experience I've been able to have here. So, like I said, I feel like I've been here before, and I can't wait to get to the other side and look back and reflect on the lessons I've learned about myself, and then also potentially influencing others, and I certainly know I'm influencing 2 little girls named Evie and Lydia at home. So, we'll get there and enjoy the moment.
And what's your chances today when you look at what you're about to head and do if we get racing today, hopefully? As you brought no rain, so this is great.
This is a scrappy track. It's a tough place to complete a pass. Frustrations run high. We have VHT, or PJ, whatever the traction compound is.
Yeah, sticky stuff.
Sticky stuff. How much has been blown off by the track drying. There's a lot of things to play into here or to worry about, and I'm just not going to worry and get my elbows out and go to work.
Guys, I think that's the key here, is that's how you become a 7-time champ. Don't worry, just go to work.
Yeah, great job, Parker, because the perspective that Jimmy just gave us, DJ, fighting through the highs, the lows, not just of racing, but of life, really rings true.
Yeah, and every champion in every sport has been through difficult times like this. Everybody, the very best don't win all the time. And so that's what makes him and separates Jimmy Johnson and those type champions from others, because they have that ability, that willingness to do whatever it's going to take to put themselves back in that position again. And for the young drivers that are out there competing against Jimmy Johnson right now and not really seeing him and his team at their very best, enjoy it while you can, because he and Jack Knaus will be back there. Jimmy Johnson will be winning races and battling for championships in the very near future.
And when we do see that win from Jimmy Johnson, what will that feel like, knowing this is the longest winless streak he's ever had?
Yeah, certainly. I didn't win at his level, but I know when you went for times and didn't win, and then because you start questioning everything around you, and Jimmy Johnson's not questioning his ability, he's just questioning, when are things going to change for me and we can get back to where we can be competitive. That's what he wants right now, is putting himself in that position. But when that next time he goes back to victory lane, it's going to be a very special feeling, but one that he's going to understand a little bit more now, because as he was winning on a regular basis, You expect that to happen. And then when they become fewer and further apart, then all of a sudden you realize each one of these is very, very special. And I know he appreciates that, and that's what makes him such a great champion.
Well, as we said, Jimmy's a 3-time winner here at New Hampshire. He's from El Cajon, California, so I don't know if he has a very good Boston accent. We know it's a unique accent from this area. And recently, some of the drivers tried their hand at sounding like a local.
All right, we're going to New Hampshire, so we're going to have you do some New England accents.
Oh, God bless it.
It'll be fun. Let's have fun.
Yeah. This is awful. I can't, hey, can I get Suarez in here for this? Okay. Or I can try.
Hey, Martin, how's your car? I know he thinks he's wicked smart, but I'm wicked smarter. I know he thinks he's wicked smart, but I'm wicked smarter.
I know he's wicked smart, but I'm wicked smarter.
I'm wicked smarter.
Wicked's a great word we don't use enough, by the way. I still use it. I might be one of the only ones.
I love it. All right, so this is my best New Hampshire, up in New England accent. I'm gonna go park the car in the Harvard yard.
I'm going to park the car in the Harvard yard.
I'm going to park the car in Harvard yard.
I'm going to park the car in the Harvard yard.
That's pretty good.
I'm going down to park the car in Harvard yard. Why does my Boston accent sound Australian, by the way?
I'm gonna pack the car in the Harvard pack. How's that? Is that good?
That's good.
Yeah, it sounded like Leo on, what was that movie? Departed. Maybe Leo should play me in my movie.
We need Ryan Priest for this, or Tommy Baldwin.
How do you like them apples? I got a number.
That driver's garbage.
That driver's garbage.
I want more Jimmys on my ice cream.
I want more Jimmys on my ice cream. Do you like my accent?
I do like your accent.
That's not a Mexican accent.
Are you from Boston?
Pretty strong. I like Michael McDowell's effort. Was really solid.
Oh, it's great efforts by all of them. I said earlier that Suarez was the one that impressed me just because I think he had more to overcome. I have a Southern accent. His is a little further south yet.
He speaks 3 languages, so Suarez knows what he's doing. But again, I'm not sure if the Boston accent is his strongest, but we're going to hear from some more drivers as the sky starts to lighten here in New Hampshire.
Let's start that show! Yes!
Is that yours?
Yeah.
You drive an old man car?
Figures.
I unplugged my earphones right there, and I'm listening to them, and then I'm like, you know what? You're not saying anything I want to hear right now, so I plugged them back in.
What's going on, Ricky?
Can you name any you didn't call? Just off the top of your head. Brad might be one. Everything you say into the microphone, they're still booing. So it's like, oh.
Too wide?
Hell no. Never gonna happen. Not a chance. There's 2 bosses I have. One of them's a female and the other one's old. The old one said no.
Man, that really brings up a lot of questions.
I'm making notes. Radio, public consumption. Got it.
I took photography classes in high school. This guy right here.
Did you miss that whole thing?
Yes, I just missed that whole thing.
Absolutely. I'm a fan of myself.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
We're out.
You're the man.
Hey, it was fun.
Every Wednesday, NASCAR America is Wednesdale. Kyle Busch was on this week. You saw how much fun that was. And DJ, it's Chase Elliott this week with Dale.
Yeah, I look forward to watching that. That last Wednesday was great. So these guys are going to have to step it up.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun with Chase.
5 p.m. weekdays, NASCAR America. Well, something we do each day, each week on the show is the social spotlight, the social pit stop. So let's go ahead and see what some drivers. So drivers are tweeting right now as we speak as they're waiting out this rain with you. That's what Kurt Busch had to say.
This place was way too hard
I know, that's
to
what you
start
said.
with. Why would you want to race on it when it's wet?
Okay, Michael McDowell has an idea for us. What about rental cars? It's calling for 10-lap heat races. He feels like the rental car companies wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no. Yes, they would. Yeah. They mind even giving drivers rental cars to start with.
I like his creativity. Okay, Kyle Weatherman in the race today starts 35th. He said, hey, I think you should interview me. After all, I am the weatherman.
Makes sense.
Tweet it and they will come. Parker?
Krista, his wish is our command. I am here with the Starcom racing duo of Landon Castle and Mr. Weatherman himself, Kyle Weatherman. Kyle, we actually have something in common where we both won the same racetrack in ARCA, New Jersey, actually, which you just told me in the same car.
Exact same car. I won in 2015, you won in 16. So it was really cool working with Paul and everybody at Cunningham Motorsports that year. But I won at 15 and you got at 16 the year after.
And you know what? We just saw Kurt Busch there say that we want to bring treaded tires. I agree with them. Let's bring rain tires out. So, Landon, you and I were just saying, couldn't we bring rain tires out? It's basically what we have on road courses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think McDowell's idea with the rental cars, we kind of already do that on the way to the airport after every race. So I definitely think treaded tires, rain tires at these tracks, that'd be fine.
And you've obviously won on a road course. Do you agree?
Yeah, let's do it. Might as well start the race early.
Yeah. Now, if we did the rental car situation, the only problem we'd have there, obviously, is that we'd have to get, like, the manufacturers lined up, right, and everything. And when I get a rental car, I don't always choose the car that I have.
Yeah, we already try to get the manufacturers lined up. I think you just do it with the rental car companies. You know, Hertz, Avis, Enterprise, they just bring the best car they got, and we race them. You know, you can decide if you want to take the extra insurance or not before the race, depending on if you think it's going to be an aggressive one or not.
Sure thing. All right, Mr. Weatherman, let's put your money where your mouth is. We're going to bring up the radar here on this monitor to the right of you, and I want you to look at this and tell us, are we going to go racing?
We are. You know, right when Jimmy Johnson walked out of the motorhome, like you said, it stopped, and I think we're clear for the rest of the time. So let's go racing here.
That is a positive weather report if I've ever heard one. I agree with you on that. That looks really good right now. So I think if it's not raining at all, we're clear. We got your approval. You guys agree? We're going to go?
Yeah, it's the weatherman. Great teammate.
We got it all down here. We got the weatherman, and we got a guy that agrees. The yes man right here, Landon Castle. Yeah. I think that's all you need down here, guys.
Well, I love the fact that you have a weatherman that just told us that we're going to go racing, because that's exactly what we want to do. We want to get onto the track. This will be a little bit new for you because it'll be your first time that you've ever been in a Cup car and raced at this racetrack.
Yeah, it's new. I mean, I really love this racetrack. I'm probably one of the few that enjoy it, but I just always came here, or I came here in the Can-Am Series and then the Truck Series and last year as well. So I feel like I have a lot of laps here, and that helps. And the short tracks just seem more comfortable, I think, as a rookie.
So you're saying this is a short track, because we had a big argument about this yesterday. Yeah. Dale Jr. and Burton are both talking about they don't know if this is a short track or if this is actually considered a speedway because it's a mile.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like it's a short track just because, you know, you're still hard braking, you're still rolling through the corners at a relatively slow speed. So I feel like it's closer to a short track for me, but I know the Martinsvilles and the Bristols of the world are really small racetracks for us, and those are exciting too.
So your career has really skyrocketed. You were about a blown engine away from a championship in the trucks. Last year you win the Xfinity Series. Has it really kind of clicked that you're only 20 years old, and right now you were just signing autographs for a young man over here that's looking up to you, that you're at the highest level of stock car racing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream come true. I think, you know, if you're 20 years old and you get an opportunity to run in the Cup Series, that's a pretty cool opportunity, and just proud to drive the Axalta Chevrolet and kind of be with this whole race team. I mean, I dreamed of being with Hendrick Motorsports as a kid, and now I get that opportunity. So it's a matter of what you do with it and trying to make it work the best you can. So it's been a lot of fun and kind of a whirlwind to get to this point. You know, I remember being in high school, kind of trying to figure out if racing was going to be a career for me and whether that was going to be just something that I was maybe going to trickle and do as a hobby, or I was going to do it as a career, and I'm lucky to do it as a career.
Yeah, you said you're taking classes right now, and your major is what?
Business communications.
And business communications would be a pretty good job, he said. And then I said, well, what about racing? And he said, yeah, racing might be a pretty good way to go, too. So best of luck. Obviously, William Byron waiting out this, I guess, track drying that's taking place. We're excited the fact that we're going to get on the racetrack. We want to get this race in. Kelly?
Yeah, Rick, Ty Dillon and I were just discussing that, too. It does kind of feel like, all right, I'm starting to get pretty optimistic.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good. We've got an 8-month-old inside our motorhome, so we're a little stir-crazy as well, a little hungry. We've been snacking all day, but ready to go racing for sure. It feels a little bit better out here. The track's looking better, but it's been a long day, ready to go racing.
All right, you guys reached a milestone, though, this weekend. Little Oakley Ray crawling for the first time.
Yeah, she did, right here. We were just hanging out kind of before qualifying, and she's been working on it. She kind of gets herself rocking, and we put the camera down that I do my vlog with, and she just started crawling to it. Maybe she's just got an eye for the camera, I guess. But now she instantly went from crawling, and then she pulled herself up last night too. So it went from where we could put her on the ground and just kind of keep an eye on her and sit on the couch. Now we're back to playing man-to-man defense and chasing her around.
You've grown up around the racetrack, and so you certainly had a lot of firsts, I'm sure. Do you think about her life growing up around here, too?
Yeah, I definitely do. This was my whole life as a kid growing up, and it was very special to me. And I think for me, growing up and being a driver now, when I was a little kid, being able to get the attention from other drivers was what meant the world to me. So I try to pass it down to all the young fans now, because I know how much of an impact it has, and hopefully it impacts her life too.
Hey, by the way, your brother Austin nominated you for Best Dad when we were talking about senior. Yeah, that was quite an honor. All right, let's turn to the race. I mean, a lot of people have called this track tricky, squirrely, difficult, whatever. How do you see New Hampshire?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. It's so unique to everything we do, and then now with the PJ1 or traction compound that they call it, I kind of like what Kyle Larson said earlier about it. It reminds me of dirt racing too, because you're chasing that sticky substance all across the track. Sometimes you enter high, cross it down to the bottom. As it wears out, you got to change your line. So I really like it. We've had some good success here last year, and we're trying to get our team going again. We've had a little bit of a rough year. We've been a little bit behind, but we feel like we have some good momentum. We changed some things up, and feel like we're heading in the right direction.
I know something else that would give you some good momentum, and that would be winning the upcoming charity basketball tournament that you and your brother put on. As I understand it, he won one year, you won one year, someone else won, but you got to pull ahead here, right?
Yeah, for sure. So we started, he won the first year, I won the second year. We kind of felt bad of winning our own charity basketball team or tournament, but August 1st at Catawba College, anybody in the area, or if you're outside the area want to come and watch, we put on a fun show. We have a lot of celebrities come out, a lot of North Carolina celebrities. D'Angelo Williams will be there this year. He MCs it. He's hilarious. So you'll get to watch some non-athletic basketball players and racers try to hoop it up.
I've seen some. It looks like a good time. Good luck there. Good luck. Let's hope we get this in today.
Yep, hopefully so.
All right, Marty?
Speaking of non-athletic basketball players, I found one. Me and Bubba Wallace, right? We both fit that category, right?
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
You took our vote for what the guys were going to wear in the booth very seriously. You have your vintage T-shirt. I'm very impressed. Yep. Although you're kind of protesting because you think they should have worn shorts and flip-flops in the booth.
Yeah, you want to be as comfortable as you can. You know, we're comfortable as you can inside the race car, so this is me. I've been comfortable all day on the couch.
I think it's a very good look, and I'm sure Dale Jr. would vote yes for that.
Yeah, I know he's a huge flip-flop guy, so I'm working on that process with you. So we'll see what we can come up with here in the next couple weeks. Get into some board shorts at least. I mean, I could have put on board shorts, look a little bit more classy, I guess. Sorry.
You look very good. Sorry, let's talk about the challenge of New Hampshire. Where does this kind of rank on challenging racetracks for you?
It's not really too challenging. It's different. My spotter Freddie and I were talking about it Friday in practice. It's different from any short track you go to. You know, usually you kind of back up your entry and pass the guys, get the run and center out. Here you drive it in hard and get the car woed up and drag race back down. So all your passes are mostly on entry, really. So it's a little different, but I've loved coming here ever since 2010 in the K&N cars. We've had some success. So it's always been, you know, a fun one to come to, a great one for me. Come close to getting a win. Second in the trucks when Cole Custer just whacks the field that year. But it's good to be back. It's been 2 years for me. I didn't realize that until I got here. So I didn't run with the PJ1 on the racetrack. So I think it'll work out today because they're not going to reapply it. So it should be all right. It should suit my hands, right?
That's a very good point. So, hey, as a team that maybe isn't as funded as some of the bigger teams, when you look at the Big Three, how tough is the game right now to keep up with guys who are winning races like they are at the rate they're winning races?
It's super tough. You know, those guys are on it each and every week, and you know, probably bringing new cars and new updates every week. As it's where we bring a new car and we won't update it until a couple weeks down the road, a couple months down the road. So that's just how it works. So you get behind the 8 ball pretty quick if you're not able to keep up to date. So we do the best with what we got. You know, I always say we're balling on a budget. My guys do a badass job each and every week of getting our cars where we need it to be. Sometimes we just ride 23rd. Sometimes we'll have a top 15 run. So that's just the product of the nature of not knowing what you really got until the end of the race.
Balling on a budget. I love it. All right, you got time for a quick quiz?
Mm-hmm.
All right, better musician, you or Blaney?
Me, for sure.
Why?
I'm into music a lot more. He just dabbles into it.
Okay. All right, better athlete, you or better basketball player, you or Denny Hamlin?
You asked me if it was
golfer.
Golfer, definitely Denny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you close?
No, absolutely not.
Better basketball player, you or Austin Dillon?
Austin, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better trash talker, you or anybody else in the field?
No, me. I'm the biggest trash talker. Everybody can agree with that.
At least you own it, right? That you talk more trash than anyone else.
You got to have fun. If you're not good at it, you at least got to make it fun. And that's just giving the other guys crap. So if they hit a bad shot, if Denny hits a bad shot, I'm going to laugh and tell him he hit a bad shot. If Austin misses a free throw or airballs a 3, I'm going to make fun of him. Yeah, got to.
That's very good. It's the opposite of playing golf with Jarrett. He doesn't talk trash. He just beats you, like, easily.
Yeah, it's a mental game. That's all it is.
There you go, a mental game. So there you go. Those are the keys from Bubba Wallace, guys.
Good stuff, Marty, for sure. Yeah, the flip-flops, I don't know about that, if that's going to happen, but I like Bubba's enthusiasm. But what we also like, DJ, is activity behind us as cars start to roll out of the garage.
Yeah, we're seeing the track drying operations continue, and the track is getting much better. They've even made a couple of passes down pit road, and as you said, these cars being rolled around gives us some hope.
Yeah, and we like what we're seeing there on the screen, too. Driver introductions slated for 3:50 p.m. Eastern Time. That's just 15 minutes away, so we'll start to see drivers put on their fire suits, get out of the motor coach lot, and as we see the teams, the crews, rolling the cars out. So we're going to go racing this afternoon. When we come back, I know a driver who always loves to win here. He's done it before. Someone that's a hometown guy. He's from about 3 hours away in Middletown, Connecticut. We'll talk about Joey Logano when we return. We're going to go racing in New Hampshire in just a little bit. Well, we came on the air, well, almost 4 hours ago, straight up noon, and this is the best thing we have seen since then. Cars rolling out of the garage, getting ready to race as the weather has cleared, and we are going to go racing with a shot at the playoffs here in New Hampshire. Driver introductions scheduled for 3:50, just a few moments away. And today, Joey Logano looks for a third career win at his home track. Logano hails from Middletown, Connecticut, roughly 3 hours from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. He discusses his journey, which began as a racing prodigy, to becoming one of the top stars of NASCAR in this edition of A Driver's Drive.
What is it that you truly love about racing?
Winning. Love winning. That's really, I mean, I enjoy taking a car to its edge and trying to make as much speed as I can, but the competition of our sport, really of any sport, is what I enjoy the most, and I just happen to be good at driving.
Did you dream about racing as a kid?
I did. That was kind of all I ever wanted to be, was a race car driver from the beginning. I don't think there was one moment that it was kind of like, that's what I want to be. I think it's just been that way. Ever since I got a little go-kart when I was, 4 or 5 years old, that was pretty much the beginning of the end right there. That was all I wanted to do.
Who is the most influential person in your racing career?
Most influential person in my racing career, honestly, is my dad. And I would assume probably that would be the same for most race car drivers. That's who I grew up racing with. We went around from track to track, had fun. We had no clue what we were doing. He didn't come from racing. I didn't come from racing. We were just figuring out as we went, as far as being, influential. I mean, without him, it wasn't going to happen.
When did racing become a reality?
Racing kind of became a reality when I was 15, and when Mark Martin was retiring for the first time, and said if he can have anyone replace him, he'd pick Joey Logano. And I was a 15-year-old kid. And to me, that kind of really opened up a lot of doors.
But here's your winner, Joey Logano.
And gave me the opportunity to move up to the next levels as I got older. So I say that was really the moment that got me to where I am today.
Thanks, that's awesome.
God. As far as when you were young and racing, was there a pureness to racing as a kid?
Yeah. I mean, when you're racing as a kid, it's as pure as can be, right? You're just going out to race. I mean, that's pretty much all it was. You go out there, you race, you go work on your car, you go to the next track, you race again. That's what it was, and it was fun that way. I mean, I think it's pure now. It's nothing's changed from then to now, really, except it's just on a bigger stage, and it's more of a business, right? And it's not necessarily for the fun anymore, even though I love my job and enjoy it every day. You don't do it to have fun, you do it to win.
Taking the captain, Roger Penske, to victory lane is Joey Logano.
Man, you are the man.
One word to describe me, I think, is passionate.
I'm right here, Joey's here. Stewart is after Logano. Busch and Joey Logano are in a fist fight here on pit road.
I feel like because whatever I do, I want to put 110% into it. You know, if it's going to be racing, I want to win every one of them, and I want to focus on 100% of that. If it's being a great father or a great husband, I'm putting 100% into that.
DJ, Joey Logano was asked about if his mindset is different this year because he already has that win. And I was kind of surprised. He said, no, it's not, because our goal isn't to make the playoffs. Our goal is to win the championship. And that's exactly what you said earlier today.
Yeah, the mindset has been there. That's what they've been trying to do is win races and get themselves positioned. Right now, are they a championship caliber team? No, I don't think so. He's a championship driver, no doubt about that. He's been there. He understands what being a part of the Final Four, that championship four is about, but they still have some work to do. But they have time to make all of that work also. You see the improvement along the way, and that's what they're working towards. They continue to work towards that. And Joey's he's so good for this sport. He's a champion person on top of all of that with all of his charity work and his foundation, do a lot of great things. But what he would like to do more than anything else is go out here this afternoon and gather up another win.
So his chances today, I mean, he didn't qualify as well as his teammates. He starts 19th. He talked about how scrappy, I think was the word one of the drivers used, this racetrack is. So what are his chances to be back in victory lane here today?
Watching practice yesterday, his car maybe wasn't as fast out on the start, but it looked like that it held on well, and it looked like that they made some improvements throughout that final practice. So I think he has an outstanding chance. All that you want is a car that'll take you into the top 5, and then as a driver, you can make things happen from there. And I think he has that car that he can do that.
Let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing in these scenes right now in the garage. As you see the clock tick down, driver introductions just a little over 7 minutes away. I mean, just a few moments ago, DJ, we would look behind us and it was sort of empty. It was a ghost town. Now you see all these colors, all this activity, because we know we're about to go racing.
Yeah, and as a driver, you know that, okay, they've given me a time now. And so you really can't tell. When these drivers that have been gracious enough to talk to us outside their motorhomes, you know, they really couldn't see the track. They didn't know how wet things were. They could see the rain when it was raining the hardest. So now you're excited as a driver. You're starting to get in a mindset and a time frame that, okay, I'm going to be inside the race car and get ready to start competing. The one question that you have, what is this racetrack going to be like? It's been raining. We've seen a lot of rain put down. We've had jet dryers, everything out here. What has that done to the racetrack, and what are these first few laps are going to be like?
Well, and kudos to NASCAR. I mean, when we saw the weather report, the forecast this morning, we thought it's going to be nearly impossible to get this rain on. 8 Titans, 7 jet dryers. They actually brought one in from Dover just to get this track dry, and it's looking pretty good right now. When we come back, our NBC race team takeover, drivers and a crew chief from the booth, Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. check in next. Every driver comes here saying they want to win the lobster.
Let's get the lobster. Kyle Busch will win at New Hampshire.
Joey Logano looking for the big lobster in victory lane.
I don't like seafood, don't like lobsters, and then when you put like a 44-pound one in my hands, I'm freaked out.
Put him back. Man, this is what we have been waiting for. Cars coming out of the garage. The track is looking better. The water's moving away. The rain's gone. The track not quite completely dry. The guys making big gains on it. I think we're going to see some racing today, and today is the race team broadcast. 2 drivers, Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, and myself, a crew chief. We're going to cover the race from up here, a new perspective, and a big shout out to the fans. They voted, and the answers are in. T-shirts and jeans. Junior, you got to be happy about this.
Yeah, I'm happy. This is the race shirt. Had the pre-race shirt on.
Oh.
Dick Trickle ASA Racing, man. I got this one this week. Pretty excited to be able to wear it today. Like you got. Like
that's pretty solid. Listen, I went with, awesome Bill from Dawsonville. How can you go wrong? And I mean, the king.
Greatest interview of all time. Thing of it is, Bill Elliott interview. Awesome. I went with the king. Can't go wrong with the king.
Well, that's how the coverage is going to be. But let's talk about the race. When we came here to the Magic Mile, the last few races, Toyota has dominated. Jeff, how are they doing it?
Well, I think this track suits their drivers, number one. I think they have good drivers, great drivers in Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. When I think about these types of racetracks, flat, long corners, those guys are so good. Kyle's good everywhere. Denny Hamlin's great at Martinsville. So that's part of it. But, they've led 97% of the laps in the last 4 races. And now another Toyota driver that I cannot get out of my mind for today is Martin Truex Jr. We've heard him say all week long how important this race is to him. He came here as a kid watching races, led tons of laps here, but never won a cup race. I got my eye on him today.
Sorry, I glassed over a little bit when you said 97% of the laps. That really is domination. So if the Toyotas are that good, who can compete? You've mentioned Team Penske. Those Penske Fords have looked decent.
Yeah, I have been watching them over the last couple of weeks. We've seen, SHR, they've kind of been the dominant Ford team with their success this year, and wondering, when Penske was going to close that gap. Well, we see that happening. So in Kentucky, we had Blaney finishing second, Keselowski finishing third. This weekend, Keselowski and Logano both are showing great speed. Blaney's had speed at times, so his car could be there today as well. But we have been talking about the big three over and over and over, and I mean, everybody's been hearing it enough, and we're just wondering in that conversation is who's going to be the guys that start to get into that mix. And I think Penske's closing that gap.
Well, that's the two drivers talking, but I want to know what a crew chief's got on your mind today.
Well, this is already a track of so many unknowns. When you come here to the Magic Mile, there's always a reason why practice isn't the best, whether it's the time of day or the series that was on before you. Maybe they had a different tire. And then you add weather into that. This track has now been, dried by the air titans and the jet dryers. That changes the conditions. And then the other big concern for the crew chief is I'm looking at the radar. Is this a 301 lap race? Are we going to be racing to the end of the second stage? I feel it's going to be my job to manage that. While it looks like the rain's moving out, you never know when you're going to have a pop-up shower already late in the day. So I'm going to have to communicate to my driver, is it time to go? Are we being patient? That whole strategy can change. You got to be liquid. You got to have a plan for sure.
Well, timing's everything in life, and knowing when to make that move is going to be huge. But another guy that had to make a move this week was Rick. And when I said timing's right, we sent him on pit road in a rain-delayed event. So, Rick, how's your day going?
Well, Jeff, the thing of it is, I'm down here.
I like how you did that.
In 16 years of covering NASCAR racing, this will be the first time that I've been a part of this chaos. If you can see behind me, there are all the drivers and their public relation people standing next to them, making sure that, for example, Kyle Larson makes it on time for driver introductions. But this is just it's an unbelievable feeling down here, a chaos that I think is incredible. And there's an energy down here that I really love. So I can't wait to watch the race from down here. I've got 9 drivers that I'm going to be keeping my eye on right in the middle of pit road. And I've got the Peacock pit box that I can hang out. I think there's some type of air conditioning you told me about, Steve, that's up there on the box. So I'm going to maybe take advantage of that as well. But a great perspective, being able to watch the race down here, see it through a different kind of set of eyes than I've ever seen a race before. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to the coverage. And, Rick, you've done a great job with the rainfield. But Kurt, guys, he wanted to make sure everybody knew this was Rick's first week down on pit road.
The rookie stripe.
Now, he is a good sport. I do think perspective is everything. I've appreciated up here with you guys. I'm excited for the race. Rick has done a great job down there, but I think it is awesome. We talk about coming to the races and what it's like. So much energy down on pit road. It's great for someone to feel that.
Oh, it is great. Since we're wearing throwback shirts, I think, there used to be a rule to get rid of your rookie stripe. You had to be able to pass Dave Marcus. So that's
the rule?
Yes, that was the rule. So what is Rick going to have to do where he has to get rid of his rookie stripe?
I'll pass Dave Marcus. I got no problem with that.
I bet you couldn't.
Just tell me where Dave is. I'll pass him. Is he wearing wingtips? That's all I need to know.
You guys were telling me about how hard a rainfield was going to be. You guys, where is it? It's gone.
He took it off.
You guys tell me about how hard a rainfield was going to be. Well, we've had a rainfield. I think it's actually, Rick's the guy that's had to learn the most.
That was going to be our secret.
Yeah, having to interview all those drivers.
But you can see, they're trying to stay lighthearted. I've always wanted to know from a crew chief, I always had a lot to worry about because I had to work about the race car, the pit crew, make sure everybody was ready for. As a driver, though, what's it like, right? You get up in the morning with a normal routine. Now that routine is completely off. You've had to kind of sit around, wait, the anticipation. It seems like these rain-delayed events start with even more intensity.
Well, you wake up in the morning, you want to race, right? You're here for one reason, and that's to race, and now it's getting delayed. And it's getting delayed, but also your plans change. So, this PJ1 that's on the racetrack, that sticky stuff, they know how it's been responding all week long when that's rained on it. So your thought process, even on the first lap when you drive into turn 1, you no longer know if your car is going to stick or not. So all those things start creeping into your mind, all those doubts, all that stuff starts to happen. And you just want to go racing so you can focus and understand what your challenges are going to be.
It's just real annoying. I mean, any kind of big event that you have planned, you got it planned to happen on time. And when somebody else is telling you or something else like the weather's dictating when that can happen, it's just really annoying. You're sitting around in the bus or talking to your crew chief or burning time in the front of the hauler or whatever.
just trying to figure out how to get this race started, when you're going to get this race started, if you're going to get this race started. You don't want to be here tomorrow. You want to do it today, so looks like that's what's going to happen. Well, we talk about this Magic Mile from a crew chief. It's very tricky to figure out when to pit, the setup. There's a lot of things, but from a driver, I don't think there's another track that has more chaotic restarts than this racetrack. There's something about turns 1 and 2. We're going to see 2, 3 wide and then try to funnel down into turn 3 over those bumps. The bottom line never has been the preferred line, but yesterday we saw Ryan Preece make it work in the Xfinity race. Does that put any bit of doubt in your brain on what you know about this racetrack?
I think it does, and I think we're going to see people try to emulate that. I mean, he had so much success, you know, a local hero, modified driver, running the Xfinity Series, won some races there, and here he is out digging against, you know, Brad Keselowski and all the favorites in the Xfinity Series. He's making it happen by going on the bottom exceptionally hard on restarts. He was fun to watch, but mainly it was effective. And when you're sitting watching a race as a driver and you're seeing somebody do something that's working, you're going to have to try it. And so today it's going to be fun to see who can make that work and who can't.
Yeah, it seemed to be effective if you were toward the front, in the front 2 or 3 rows. Before they applied the PJ1 to the bottom groove, you never wanted to restart on the inside, ever. You were going to lose spots, and it was almost impossible to even maintain your position on restarts on the low line. But now, it's even, at times, maybe more competitive for a lap, maybe 2 laps. But you have to make that pass and get that lead and get clear and eventually get that high entry. You definitely know that the preferred entry to the corner is in the outside grooves. You can run that bottom, but only for a few 2-3 corners before you need to get into that outside groove. And we're watching driver introductions here. I know the drivers are excited to get into the race car. I'm excited to see some racing. The track is drying. It's starting to look better out. The sun is, I won't say it's peaking out, but the dark clouds have definitely gone away. Hey, you know, I was trying to work it a little bit better.
We definitely see the surface drying up, pit roads drying up, the racetrack's drying up.
So as we see these guys get announced, who strikes you that has to have a good day? Well, we talk about the big 3, Kyle Busch, Truex, Harvick. I don't think they have to have anything. They're already having good years so far. Who's the guys you're looking at? Is it perhaps Bowman back there at the cut line?
Yeah.
Is it, you know?
I'm looking at all the guys at the cut line. All the guys that are sitting there around 15th, 16th, all the way back to 20th, even 21st. You definitely, you know, this could be a day where you could get a big chunk of points, put yourself in a little bit better position, bring up the optimism, bring up the, you know, morale in the team as you continue to get closer and closer to Vegas in the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, Paul Menard, he's had some good races lately. He's climbed himself back into contention to try to make the playoffs. That needs to continue. But then, Steve, you and I talked about it, you know, just yesterday, how if one guy wins, you get one new winner and it changes that cut line. You know, now you got Chase Elliott that could potentially be sitting there, you know, as the last guy getting in. And now if you look at the point battle between he and his teammate Jimmy Johnson, they're very close. So I think the pressure is building way down the field because we haven't had a surprise winner. We have Watkins Glen coming up. We have this race, which could be a wild card race. We have Bristol. Well, there's some wild card races coming up, and you get a surprise winner, and it's game on.
Okay, I got some good information, though, guys. I'm hearing from NASCAR. They're anticipating a 4:15 green flag, so that is not too far out in the distant future. You talk about people that have to have a good run. Denny Hamlin right there, we saw him. This is that track that I kind of have circled. You know, Denny, his teammate here, Kyle Busch, has had success. You talk about the domination of the Toyotas. Well, Denny, much like last year, got his first win here. I think he would love to do that again, get his first win of the season here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think this guy right here, Martin Truex Jr., coming off last week, you know, he's never won here. We talked about that. You know, these races matter. Your hometown race, I know he has 3 or 4 hometowns, but your hometown race matters. And I think for a guy like him, winning here would mean a tremendous amount. And how about Kurt? You know, he's Stewart-Haas Racing. 2 of his teammates have won multiple races. He's not won a race. He's a former champion. Does not have a contract for next year. Still trying to figure that out. He needs a win.
Yeah, he's definitely, you know, he's competitive. Obviously got the pole today. Knows he has confidence in himself, but he's got to be feeling a little bit of that pressure
from his teammates. You know, as a driver from a multi-car team, that you can feel that pressure from your teammates. I've certainly felt that from Jimmy Johnson over the years.
Man, he sent me to the TV booth. What are you talking about? Holy smokes, that guy is good.
To be clear, I think he had a part in sending all of us to the TV booth.
Oh, there you go, guys. You see it. 4:15, not even 20 minutes away. Green flag, Monster Energy Series Racing from Loudon, New Hampshire. And it's looking better and better and better. Tracklet's almost complete. They're just drying a little bit here on the apron. Guys, that last segment we talked about who has to have a good day. Well, I think this is the picture we need to look at in the playoff standings. We know the guys in yellow, they've won races. They're on to the playoffs. Brad, Kerbush, Larson have a pretty big advantage in points, but it really gets tight. In my mind, Jimmy Johnson at 66 above is not safe. Chase Elliott 51, Bowman at 9, Stenhouse only 9 below, Paul Menard, Newman, and Suarez. I think all of those drivers from Jimmy to Suarez, 7 races, guys. Points can move around quickly.
Yeah, the 51 points that Chase has, that's a more than a one-race cushion. So that's what I look at if I'm a driver. If I'm Chase, I say, hey, I can still gamble a little bit, take the risks that I need to take to try to win races, win stages. If that fall, if you're Alex Bowman and you only got 9, I mean, you've really got to be careful not to make huge mistakes or put yourself in a situation that could cost you a lot of points. He cannot afford to put himself in a hole and drop out of there. You got Menard with 23. He made a big gain last week with that great finish at Kentucky. A couple more weeks like that, and then he's in the conversation. Maybe a guy, a dark horse, that actually earns his way into the playoffs.
The other thing that these points don't show is playoff points. And we saw those big 3, how many points they have and how much they're gaining. If you want to get yourself to Miami with a chance to win the championship, you need to start getting some points. You're behind those guys, and once the playoffs start, the work you do in the regular season, it matters. So all those guys that are going to make the playoffs, they have to start getting better stage finishes, better race finishes, and wins, because that's going to help you get to the playoffs and have a chance to win the championship. Marty, who you got?
Well, Jeff, you've been in this position before. You know, as a driver, a lot going through your mind after it's been a rain delay. You've had jet dryers and air titans on the racetrack. No reapplication of the sticky stuff on the racetrack, Martin. So what are you thinking this is going to be like at the start?
I think that's everybody's question right now. We're not real sure. So it seems that the rain doesn't really affect the PJ1 that much. We've had this happen before at some other tracks. So they reapplied it after the races yesterday, either last night or this morning. So we'll just have to see. I'm sure the first couple laps are going to be a handful and be hard to find any grip. So hopefully we can find ourselves in a good spot after a few laps and then go get them from there.
Well, one thing is for sure, Martin will be one of the first guys to find out. He starts on the front row, Kelly.
One other thing for sure, Denny Hamlin does not like lobsters, but he does like getting to victory lane here at New Hampshire. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge to start this race?
I think, the different track conditions, typically the first run here is pretty loose. So you got to make sure you don't over-adjust after that first run. And we'll hopefully keep our track position all day, minimize mistakes, and have a great day.
All right, 4th place start here for Denny Hamlin, Parker.
And one guy to be chasing him here from the 14th is Kevin Harvick. We were just talking about that grip level out there. You think there's any grip out there?
Don't lie. We were talking about whether you should wear T-shirts in the booth, and I said no. But no, it's going to be interesting to see how our Busch Beer Ford is to start the race, just because of the fact you don't really know how much has been washed off of the PJ1. But I think as you look at where everybody ran, even when it was kind of worn in yesterday, they still ran that regular race groove, and obviously Ryan Preece made the bottom look really good on the restart. So it'll be interesting to see where it all settles in and how much grip is actually out there.
Guys, he's judging that wardrobe of yours.
Oh, T-shirt police out there.
Man, wardrobe controversy for sure. This has become a big deal. Guys, listen, we talk here. These guys talk about that PJ1, the sticky stuff. That's fine, and that's been the storyline in practice. But here, when we put all these cars out there, then it turns into a race. We're not going to talk about track conditions. We're going to talk about battling the track and battling each other. It's going to be interesting to see how that storyline progresses throughout the day.
Yeah, we don't know how this is going to react, because this is a flat racetrack. The water's been sitting on that stuff. It's a chemical. How does that chemical react with the water constantly sitting on it? We've seen this PJ1 used at other racetracks, but it's banking. We've had rain at Bristol and places like that where we've used this before, but it runs down that banking, doesn't sit on this chemical. And how does that interact? I don't know.
You can't drive into turn 1 being afraid of it. You have to drive into turn 1 and drop a degree and dig.
You sure you can't take it easy at first corner?
I don't think so. Ooh. I don't think these guys will. And you can't afford to lose track position. It's become so important. You just can't give it up.
You definitely, under pace laps, you go hard. Under pace laps, are you not sitting there warming your tires up, being really aggressive, trying to understand as much as you can about the grip you have, especially in the corners? That's the only way I could try to figure out what I could, get the information I needed.
Well, the crew chiefs are doing the same thing. They're going through their strategy, going through their plan. The plans are fine, but you have to really pay attention when these races go. It all has to be liquid. You can't be married to a pit strategy. You can't be married to a setup. You have to be able to adjust on the fly.
Well, we got the track dry. It's time to start this show like the only way we know how. Let's go down the track side for the ceremonies.
Race fans, please rise and remove your hats as Vanessa Salvucci performs the Canadian National Anthem.
Oh, Canada, I've a native land, true patriot land, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true strong and free, from far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh,
Please remain standing as New Hampshire National Guard, representing several units from around the city, presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Pastor John White offers our invocation.
Our Father God, we thank you for both the sun and the rain. We thank you as well for each of the drivers and the teams who have prepared this last week to make this day successful and fun for all of us. We thank you as well for the staff here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway who have prepared for months to make this an effective and fun weekend for all of us. And Lord, I pray that despite the delay, this will be a day to remember for all of us. And Father, I also would ask that you would bring healing to Ozzy Altman, longtime announcer here, that you would help him to come back and be with us once again at this place. We ask all of these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Vanessa Salvucci.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so barely we had the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights were the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was For the land of the free and the home of the
Feels right to be back in New England. You hear the Canadian anthem, the American anthem. We're going to get the engines fired after the break.